permanecer de pie y denle la bienvenida a King Kell para el himno nacional de los Estados Unidos.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleam, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets regular, the bombs bursting in it, gave proof through the night that a flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
US-Mexico, the biggest of nights in Cincinnati. ESPN's coverage of US soccer is presented by Volkswagen. The oldest of rivalries in the newest of settings. If the US men have one particular touchstone fixture, then this surely is it. Against the noisiest of neighbours, for Salon played out in Columbus and now transferred 100 miles southwest to the most sparkling of the new cathedrals of the game in this country. $250 million worth of soccer real estate. Same state, same stakes, different setting. So, talking points surrounding the US lineup. Zach Steffen preferred to Matt Turner in goal. The veteran DeAndre Yedlin in at right back. Weah preferred to Areola. Pulisic not yet fit enough to start. We may well get a cameo from the Chelsea man in the second half. As for Mexico, they've lost their top three central defenders. Araujo suspended, Montes and now Hector Moreno carrying injuries. So it's an untried partnership of the elderly Dominguez and the emerging Vasquez. The midfield with both Alvarez and Romo has an air of containment about it. And then up top, it's Raul Jimenez, flanked by Corona and Lozano. That is a truly dangerous trio. Well, for these teams, the hoped-for destination is Qatar a year from now. Mexico top the CONCACAF qualifying group. A US win, backed by fervent support, would see Berhalter's men leapfrog El Tri. This is the first day that every US fan looked for when the schedule was released. CONCACAF's collision of heavyweights. the ultimate rivalry in this region. A night when senses are sharpened, tensions are heightened. And if history is any guide, this could be a turbulent evening. The US won the 2 dress rehearsals earlier in the year, but this is the one that gets the blood properly pumping in a way that resonates more robustly. This is the gala performance. Taylor Twellman, alongside me, has been a part of this rivalry in the past, has commentated on it on many occasions. Where is this one going to be won and lost, Taylor?
It's really interesting when you look at this matchup and considering the history of CONCACAF qualifying. 9 of the last 10 teams to have 11 points out of their first 6 games have qualified for the World Cup. And yet this is a completely different scenario. Now it's an octagonal. And so after tonight, they will be halfway through World Cup qualifying. Will the United States be able to sleep at night, or will they be sleepless over the next 2 months, worried about the World Cup in 2022?
It doesn't need me to underline that the noise here is thunderous. And here's Anthony Robinson for the US. Held off by the veteran Dominguez. And now it's Luis Romo finding Chucky Lozano. Sweeping ball for Corona. Romo's made his way forward. Jimenez available too. Miles Robinson victorious in the first duel. Edson Alvarez. Rivalry that dates back 87 years. Edition number 73 this evening. And whilst Mexico held sway for most of the 20th century since the turn of the millennium, the US has the upper hand. Greg Berhalter played in the most important ever US-Mexico game back at the 2002 World Cup, the round of 16. A frequent setting for this matchup, of course, has been elsewhere in the Buckeye State in Columbus. Weston McKennie. Jimenez. It's Romo. Corona.
It's going to be extremely important for Greg Berhalter in the United States that when Mexico is in rhythm and when they're in possession, that the understanding between Zimmerman, Miles Robinson, and Tyler Adams is on point, because Jimenez, ever since the head injury, his time with Wolves, he drops into the midfield and tries to pull one of the center backs out of position to allow the 2 wingers to exploit that space. Tyler Adams is going to have his head on a swivel, making sure he's mindful of Jimenez when he drops into the hole.
Anthony Robbins. Yunus Musa. This is Tyler Adams, skipper for the 5th time this evening. Alvarez hustled into a moment of discomfort, rare for him. Attentions of Aronson. Musa. Began the week playing against Hector Herrera and is finishing it in the same vein, 4,000 miles away. Met in La Liga last weekend. Here's Ware. Pepe! First semblance of a chance.
Well, in the pregame show, I told you I was most intrigued about Timothy Weah coming into this lineup because there's a real diversity to his game, but there's also something you can't teach. He can operate at a high level, at a top pace, but when you've got a center forward like Ricardo Pepi, who scores all of his goals in and around that 14 yards in front of goal, you've got to have high-quality balls in and around that 18-yard box. Good play early on from Timothy Weah.
Gallardo protecting the ball from where?
And Gallardo's going to be an X factor to this one, right, John? Because he's very elusive going forward. And the way Tata Martino sets up his teams in possession, he allows his fullbacks to push further up the field. And so that may force Timothy Weah to have to defend a little bit deeper. And that's why I think Tata Martino wants his fullbacks to do that, but allow Alvarez to drop into the center backs the way he's done for Ajax and Champions League at a high level. I think Gallardo and Rodriguez on this right side could be the real X factor for Mexico tonight.
It's a foul by Musa. Referee is Ivan Barton of El Salvador. Dominguez forced backwards. Hector Herrera. Here's Gallardo. There's a bit of serious defending for the US to undertake. It's a corner. Saw Tata Martino a moment ago, whilst Greg Berhalter chooses two words to describe US-Mexico. Great event. Tata Martino uses just one. Classico.
And the United States feel like they have an advantage not only on attacking set pieces, but defending them. If they defend this well, watch out for them on the counter.
Goalkeeper Stefan didn't get clean purchase. Edson Alvarez with the follow-up.
And a big decision from Greg Berhalter to go with Zach Steffen over Matt Turner. And anytime you're in a game of this magnitude, you want to get an early touch. Little nervy moment there from Zach Steffen, but he does well with it.
Here's Weah, who goes alone. He had Aronson as a foil.
Well, the reason why the European scouts are all over Ricardo Pepi is because there's so many raw things about him. Instinctually, he's great in the final third, but he's got great mobility and he can run in the channels. If he can shore up that hold-up play, link up, combine with his wingers, now all of a sudden you've got a complete number 9 going forward.
This is Miles Robinson. He scored on this ground for Atlanta last weekend. Anthony Robinson. Trip by Luis Rodriguez. And a platform of potential and promise for the US.
Now remember, it was Tata Martino that drafted Miles Robinson at Atlanta United, but he didn't play him as much because he felt like technically he didn't have the quality at the highest level. And Miles Robinson has grown into a real special center back this summer. Great ball over the top. Now a dangerous set piece for the United States going forward.
Mexico particularly susceptible to US set pieces.
Remember, it was the Nations League final this summer in Denver where Weston McKennie put on a show on set pieces here.
He's vying for position here. Delivery was by Aronson. It is a goal kick. It's a bright and energized start. Musa. Andre Yedlin, 70th cap. Only player in the US squad to have appeared at a World Cup finals. Pepe. Where? So, exchanging passes with Yedlin. This is Tyler Adams. And a wayward pass, and the failure of Miles Robinson to cut it out. Raul Jimenez, held up importantly by Zimmerman. A moment of carelessness, nearly costly for the United States. Herrera. Turning away from Aronson. Zimmerman's head. Alvarez. Corona. Jimenez. Alvarez with the shot.
Well, a self-inflicting moment here from the United States that originated from a bad ball of Tyler Adams, square pass through the midfield. And this is a difficult one for Zach Steffen through a crowd of players in front of him to pick that out late. That is a save that can give a goalkeeper that is a little rusty some early confidence.
Not seen a lot of game time with Manchester City this season, just 4 appearances. That is his life right now. It's understudy to Edison. Corona. Herrera. And out by McKennie. Alvarez, who is a class act. Johan Vasquez, who's making his competitive debut, the player from Genoa in Italy. 2 previous appearances in friendlies. It's quite a baptism in competitive terms. Yedlin with the tackle. Felt by Jesus Corona.
And Yedlin needs to be careful here because he's already on a yellow, so the next yellow he gets, he's out of the next game. And so you want to pick and choose your moments when you're going to get stuck in. And remind Chucky Lozano that you're going to be up his backside all game long.
I'm sure there's a whole lot wrong with that.
Well, I know our Mark Clattenburg is probably looking at that wondering, what was that? But truth is, in these kind of moments, even for the referee, you don't want to give him any kind of inclination of a late challenge.
Not amidst the maelstrom that we have inside this stadium tonight. Overwhelming support for the United States. A few Mexican flags and replica shirts. The noise is American, almost exclusively. Corona. Solidly defended by Yedlin and cleared by Adams. Romo. Chaco Rodriguez. Lozano. Musa to Adams. Musa took a stride, then went over. Referee playing on with the US in possession anyway, and it's Weston McKennie. Musa, down the line for Ware. And Mexico getting into quite a few problems, trying to play out from the back, constantly giving the ball away.
Especially with the young center back in Vasquez. And I think Timothy Way is doing a wonderful job of forcing him to his right foot because he is left-footed. And so really the only option is to clip it 25 yards into their defensive third, and it's all about winning second balls. But Way doing a very good job of putting that Mexican center back under some real pressure early on in this one.
Remember, an Achilles heel for Mexico, set pieces. All 4 goals scored by the US against the Mexicans this year from such opportunities, but those were better delivered than that by Aronson. Rain for much of the 2 hours prior to kick-off, eased off only 10 minutes ahead of the start of the game. It's a nice slick playing surface. Anthony Robinson, Ricardo Pepe, it's Vasquez. Can be taken down.
I think we've seen a different Weston McKennie over the last couple of weeks in Italy with Juventus. He was very forthcoming in his interview in The Athletic, just talking about the suspension and how it took away some of his confidence. But 2 goals in Serie A, then he could have had a wonderful 3rd goal in the Champions League that hit the crossbar. But now we're starting to see the old Weston McKennie that a lot of U.S. soccer fans fell in love with a little bit over a year ago.
Aronson with a bit of depth. Aiming for Zimmerman. Comes out to Pepe. Yedlin. And Ware. And again Timothy Ware. Aronson!
This is still a continuation of set pieces. Tata Martino and his staff all week long are worried about set pieces. And when you defend against the United States, it's not always the first phase, it's often the second phase where they can kill you. Brendan Aronson with a good opportunity there.
This time Mexico more successful in playing out from a deep position. And through the middle goes Lozano. And Lozano is foiled by a very good stop by a hugely exposed Zach Steffen.
You want to see a world-class ball? How about this ball from Alvarez to get Mexico out of pressure? Bypassing the lines, and then it's 1-2 touch, quick passing, played into your 9, and run off of that. An absolute clinic how to play through that pressure. And every single time the United States played Mexico here in the States, your goalkeeper's got to come up with a big save. That is a big one from Zach Steffen here in Cincinnati.
Musa. Lots of encouragement for both teams. Met a mile up in Denver. They confronted each other on the Strip in Vegas. Now here they are in Cincinnati, Ohio. Neither team has beaten the other 3 times in a calendar year since 1937. It is within the compass of the US to bridge that gap tonight. Wow. Economical, Tyler Adams. Zimmerman. Yedlin. Musa. Starters tonight, only this man Yedlin in the US ranks has played a World Cup qualifier against Mexico before. 3 others on the bench may join us later in the game with that experience in the bank. Jim Pulisic had 16 minutes in Malmo in the Champions League, 5 minutes against Burnley in the Premier League last weekend. Was probably hopeful rather than realistic to think he might have started tonight. It's been out a while. Ankle injury sustained on international duty. Lozano. And Stefan able to swoop on it in front of Corona. What do you make of the pace of the game, Taylor?
Exactly what you would expect. At a game at this level, where both teams know exactly what's at stake, but you also look at it, no team has beaten in this rivalry each other 3 times in a calendar year since 1937. And so there is a ton of pressure on Tata Martino in Mexico. But then you also have this conversation about Mexico doesn't respect the United States, and Tata Martino and Greg Berhalter going back. This is exactly what you want with a rivalry. And with all due respect to the 2 trophies that were won this summer, this is the game by which you were judged by.
Was committed by Yedlin. Jimenez by Zimmerman. Jimenez. Musa. And away by Gallardo. I just wonder, Mark Clattenburg's with us, former international referee of great repute and standing. Yedlin, couple of fouls now, couple of free kicks given away. How much leash has he got from the referee, do you think, now?
He hasn't got much now, because his reaction after he gave the foul away was a bit disrespectful to the referee. So, you know what, I wouldn't be surprised if his next foul is given as a yellow card.
Thank you, Mark. Clattenburg, who's got experience with a couple of these Mexican players. He refereed the final of the 2012 London Olympics when Mexico won the gold against Brazil, and Hector Herrera and Raul Jimenez were both involved in that game. Landmark moment for Mexican football. It's one of those, Hector Herrera. Now of Atletico Madrid. Corona, who's been rather frozen out by Porto since saying he wants to leave. Aronson. Anthony Robinson. Julio Dominguez back to Memo Ochoa, who gets booed by the American supporters. This fixture lacks a villain. We've had 5 cycles with Rafa Marquez, and now he's spoiled it all by retiring. So someone has to fill the void, and Ochoa is probably the most likely candidate, given some of his comments, a lack of respect towards the US in the build-up. Luis Rodriguez misjudges it. Anthony Robinson. Robinson does well to at least keep it alive. Miles Robinson. Weston McKennie. It's a Mexican throw. Settling a little into a pattern after a fairly frantic start. to Miles Robinson, who's a little hemmed in. He's enough to find an escape route. It's Pepe. And Musa impeded. Free kick given, Musa down.
How good is Alvarez? You know, there's one thing when you're playing within the Ajax system, to have the technical ability and understanding in certain tactical situations what kind of pass is needed, what kind of look is there. But look at the 25 to 30 yard recovery to stop the counter from the United States and Musa. You know, the fans here are upset with no foul call, but Alvarez times that tackle perfectly, wins the ball. It's a throw-in for the United States. But that's a special player.
The referee read that entirely correctly. So he doesn't have the benefit of our selection of replays. Now Dominguez, a little uncertain, helped out by Vasquez, his partner for the first time ever. No Rajo, no Montes, Hector Moreno. Ruled out from the starting 11. He is named on the bench tonight, but effectively the three senior centre-backs are all missing for Mexico. The other end of the pitch, here's Corona. Kenny sorting matters out with Aronson. Read by Vasquez. Tito Corona. ESPN's coverage of US soccer is presented by the all-electric Volkswagen ID.4. And in part by BioSteel, the official hydration partner of US soccer. Scan the QR code to save 30% off at biosteel.com or use code USA30. Hydrate like the men's national team with clean, healthy hydration. Good cover from Adams. Herrera. Lozano. Corona. So Robinson leads the tidying mission. Should become something more ambitious now with Timothy Ware. Sweeping move by the US, yields a corner. And it's taken quickly and short to Aronson.
Now that you're almost 30 minutes into the game, John, this is where experience plays a huge factor. And when you look at the Mexican roster, 11 players over 30 years old, and yet the United States have 16 players that are 24 or younger. When you look at the players that are on the field now, how do the young players deal with this? You're chasing the game a little bit with Mexico. Can you be a little bit cleaner in possession and take advantage of the few opportunities going forward?
Rather meekly surrendered by Anthony Robinson. It's a free kick to Mexico. Latest score from a game that kicked off an hour before this in San Pedro Sula. Honduras leading Panama by 2-0. Honduras starting the night as bottom of the CONCACAF qualifying group. Panama fourth at kickoff. Zimmerman, referee poised with his whistle, allows the advantage to unfold with Lozano. In early towards Corona! The bigger chances are coming Mexico's way.
And they're coming Mexico's way because immediately when the ball is turned over from the United States, it's the first ball out of pressure that Mexico has been better than the States in this. But you've got world-class players in the attacking front three from Mexico, and they're all different. Chucky Lozano understanding that Corona's making them run back post, Anthony Robinson coming in late. Corona could have done better with that, but Mexico, as quick as they are going forward, they're also as smart in understanding where the better pass is. That's where they've been really good in the first 31 minutes here.
It's not been a smooth ride to this point for either of these sides through qualifying. Mexico may be unbeaten, but they've had a couple of close shaves, benefited from some late goals. Here's Romo. Corona. The United States have played 9 hours of qualification football prior to tonight's game. Led for 87 minutes, which isn't much. Trailed for nearly as many, 81. So nothing has been straightforward.
No, but the most alarming number when you look at the United States is of the 9 goals they have scored, only 1 of those has been in the first half. And I think that's been the most frustrating thing for U.S. soccer fans watching this team, is why has it been so reactive in World Cup qualifying its second half for Greg Berhalter? Yes, you have to give him some credit in the sense that he's made the right changes and changed the complexion of this team. But yeah, one thing that's been consistent is slow starts.
Must have been going through the mind of the 18-year-old Ricardo Pepi as he came out of the tunnel tonight to face a team that a year or so ago he would have been cheering for rather than even thinking of playing against. Having a word with Jimenez. Tata Martino up against the US for the 8th time in his managerial career. 5 wins, 2 defeats, those 2 games earlier this year. Yedlin. Weah. Awkward loop on that, and it's behind for a corner.
Weah's had himself a real good first half, and a lot of it is where he's picking up his starting position as the United States builds in possession. He's coming into that hole, allowing Yedlin to overlap, and so now there's more options for him either to cut inside or to deliver a ball first time.
Eager supporters craning their necks on the Bailey behind that goal. As Aronson takes. Alvarez with the header. Such a positive early impression in his international career. Dispossessed there. Cross comes Zimmerman. Pepe. Anthony Robinson. And Ricardo Pepe. Musa to Aronson. Back to Musa. Musa got further than he might have expected when he sent off on that sortie. Slaloming run. Corona. Adams doing the donkey work for Weston McKennie.
You watch Mexico in possession. What's the biggest difference from the United States? They have a reference point. They can play into Jimenez, he can drop into the hold, and the wingers can exploit it. They need a little bit more from Pepe up front.
Yedlin. McKennie. Dropping on Gallardo. There's Aronson. Driven up by Lozano to Musa, who goes over almost in slow motion. Play on, says the referee. Adams. It's McKennie. Lucky to get it back. Where? It's not the brightest spark for the US.
Well, and I think this is a good no call from the referee, because Lozano initially had his hands on the shoulders of Musa, but he pulled him off. Musa trying to draw a free kick there. That was a good no call. This is better from the United States here under pressure.
Anthony Robinson. It's Pepe. Here comes Musa!
It's exactly what I'm talking about from Ricardo Pepi up front. We all know about the raw instincts in and around the 18, finishing plays off. But as he evolves as a number 9 up front, understanding that clean first touch, where's your awareness, where's the better pass, lay it off to Musa. If you get a little bit more out of Pepi, then Musa and the United States are going to get a little bit more going forward. Good play from the 18-year-old.
International football action doesn't stop with this fixture. We're back on ABC on Sunday afternoon, 2:30 Eastern, with a critical qualifier between Spain and Sweden. One of those two will make it to the World Cup in Qatar, and Sunday's game will decide which. Martina, who could, circumstances had worked out slightly differently, have been in charge of the United States this evening. So far in the young life of a football stadium that many of us walked into for the first time yesterday and were hugely impressed by. TQL Stadium, the only thing it lacks is any sort of home winning record. 17 games here for FC Cincinnati and just one victory. Certainly stands comparison with any of the new arenas opened by Major League Soccer clubs. Adams weighing it up, still weighing it up. Here's Aronson. Musa now. Weah's flick to Yedlin. Here comes Anthony Robinson. Couldn't get the purchase on the header.
It's just relentless for 90 minutes from Brendan Aronson. You can't take him off the field right now if you're Greg Berhalter. It's 90 minutes right down your throat at a high intensity, putting you under pressure, keeping this play alive and allowing Anthony Robinson to try to get on the end of it on the back post. That initial combination from Adams and Aronson, almost pulling it off.
Dramatic developments in the game in San Pedro Sula. Honduras were 2 up against Panama, who brought it back to 2-2 with goals in the 77th and 80th minutes. And now Panama have got their noses in front. Panama 4th in the group. They go level on points with the US if they win that. Free kick Mexico. Now by protesting Anthony Robinson on Lozano. Early moments for Greg Berhalter with half-time on the horizon. Stephen struggling to make himself heard of the general din of the crowd.
Keep an eye on an in-swinger here.
Corona.
I see that's wasteful. For me, Gallardo hits that with an in-swinging ball. It's a nightmare for any goalkeeper, because then any kind of deflection, it's difficult to react to.
Boos are getting louder for Memo Ochoa. Tangle involving Jimenez and Yedlin. Last opponents in the Premier League before Yedlin's move to Turkey. US free kick, this time Adams fouled.
It is, but Tyler Adams has to be extremely careful of trying to thread the needle there, because if the referee doesn't blow his whistle, it's 3v1 going the other way. McKennie and Musa just trying to figure the positioning out. Oftentimes they're in the same spaces, and so it's easy for the midfield of Mexico to find those. And so what Adams is trying to help Zimmerman and Miles Robinson get out of pressure, maybe McKennie and Musa can maybe give them a little bit of a better angle, and you can bypass Adams and play through them.
Adams.
Great tackle.
Heard the thud reverberate around the stadium. Here's McKennie. Neatly for Yedlin. Here's Pepe. The time it took for the ball to drop. He's whipped off his toe. Anthony Robinson. Aronson. He goes sprawling. Well, Jimenez, the ball crept up and struck the arm. So if you're scoring this a la boxing, have you got Mexico ahead on points, or how even is your card?
It's eerily similar to the two finals that we saw this summer in Denver and Vegas, isn't it? Where Mexico dictates majority of the game. They've had the better chances, and yet it feels like with a little bit of a better pass or decision in the final third, the United States can find themselves on the counter. But to answer your question, I think Mexico's been the better team in the first half. And Zach Steffen's come up with 2 good saves.
Just the solitary minute to be tagged on. Robinson not necessarily doing his team a favour by keeping that in. Herrera setting himself for the overhead. And this is Weston McKennie. And we will now see the first appearance of a yellow card in this match for Luis Romo.
smart from Weston McKennie, understanding here that there was really no option. And so he can feel the presence of Romo, and the Mexican midfield retreat to try to get into a good defensive posture, understanding that sliding across, drawing the yellow from Romo. Also, more importantly, taking the pressure off the back line that was a little sloppy moments before that.
Chances at either end of the pitch. The better one's probably going the visitors' way, but at the midway point, it is goalless between the US and Mexico as Greg Berhalter picks up his notepad and his pen and begins to set sail towards the locker room. He will call in with us en route to discuss what we've seen in a tightly contested first half. And Greg Berhalter is now with Sanborn.
Greg, 0-0 at the half. How do you feel about what you've seen from your team?
It's a good game, intense game. I think both teams are putting a lot of energy into it, up and down. You know, the guys are committed. We're looking to get the goal. We came close a number of times. We want to keep pushing.
What's going to be your message to them for the second half?
I think keep going. We could be a little more patient and build up. I think we're passing out of areas where we have numbers too quickly. And then we got to break lines and switch field. It's really important.
Thanks very much. John.
Thank you, Sam. Greg Berhalter a little hoarse at half-time, rather like 25,000 other American supporters inside the splendid TQL Stadium. Mexico have had their moments, the US have had a sniff here and there. We'll get the views of Casey and Jermaine with Seb in a moment. Half-time, goalless.
Lots of chances, lots of tension, but nothing to show for either side yet. The United States and Mexico scoreless through 45 minutes at TQL Stadium in Cincinnati. Alongside Casey Keller, Jermaine Jones, I'm Sebastian Salazar. Great to have you with us. The first half highlights won't deliver a goal, but man, there was some really good play and some close calls. Let's get to it, and we'll pick it up in the 12th minute. Really, the first good chance for Mexico, Casey, comes here off the boot of Edson Alvarez and Zach Steffen. We knew he was going to be tested. This was the first
Yeah,
goal.
I mean, it started with a bad giveaway in midfield. Eventually, it comes to a crowd. In the end, it's a pretty comfortable save for Zach, but a nice one to steady the nerves.
5 minutes after that, a chance for the United States here. Brendan Aronson didn't catch it clean.
Yeah, we had like some, crosses, what we said in the beginning, like if we cross the ball in, that's the dangerous part where we can...
This may be the best chance for Mexico. Chucky Lozano one-on-one. Again, Casey Steffen.
Yeah, Lozano does a good job. It's a good job breaking the pressure, but what I love what Zach did is he waited and allowed DeAndre to come across and give the pressure, and then another excellent opportunity.
Tecatito Corona there with a miss off the cross from Chucky Lozano. Pretty even so far. Thoughts on the first half?
Say it again?
Thoughts on the first half?
To be honest, I think we chasing the game. Mexico's playing better. They have clear chances. I think 2 saves, good from Zach Steffen. But we had a little bit of conversation. I want to see them like playing crosses, going. It's everything is a little bit too slow, and this is what Mexico wants, because then they can pick you up and they can bring you into their style, and you see it. They're dangerous.
Well, a lot of the conversation before the game was how the U.S. scored all the goals off of set pieces. The quality of the service of set pieces in that first half left a lot to be desired. Those are huge opportunities for the U.S. to score. And when you don't beat the first man, it's almost impossible. So better service from set pieces, better service from the run of play. We started to see a little bit more near the end of that first half. Ricardo Pepe getting involved more in the build-up, which then allows more opportunity for players to get into the box. That'll be crucial as well.
What about the turnovers? Because a lot of Mexico's chances are coming from the United States.
Yeah, it is. It's something that Jermaine and I talked about before the match. In the Costa Rica match, there was a couple turnovers that Costa Rica didn't capitalize. We said if the U.S. makes those mistakes today, they could pay the price, and they almost did today.
Yeah, you can see the last 10 minutes or 15 minutes, like when the U.S. started like really having the trust in themselves and like starting playing soccer, we're getting chances and we play good. But the moment is like you chase it and you're trying to overpass and do it too quick, then you lose control in the midfield, you lose the balls on easy turnovers, and that's what Mexico wants. Mexico's waiting for that.
You can't afford those unforced errors, particularly in dangerous areas. Now, it's twofold. Unforced errors in midfield, it's a counterattack. Unforced errors up front, you lose your opportunity to score goals.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we return, we're going to check with the other scores around CONCACAF. We got some crazy games going on, including one wild comeback down in Honduras. 45 minutes in the books. USA, Mexico, 0-0. Welcome back to Cincinnati TQL Stadium. United States and Mexico scoreless at the half. Let's check on the rest of the action from around CONCACAF. Wild game down in Honduras. Honduras was leading 2-0 at home. Panama striking back to come back and win 3-2. Meanwhile, Canada, the positive surprise of qualifying so far, tied with Costa Rica in the second half. El Salvador and Jamaica also scoreless at the beginning of the second half there. Second half coming up here in Cincinnati. Christian Pulisic, when will he come on? 60th minute, 75th minute, we await the answer. Second half coming up next from Cincinnati.
Welcome back to TQL Stadium in Cincinnati. Goalless at halftime in the oh-so-important World Cup qualifier between the US and Mexico. And the rain has started to fall during halftime. The temperature has dipped below the 40-degree mark, almost to order for the US, one might think. The rain being driven by a gusting breeze. Zach Steffen out early. So too the US. No sign of Mexico yet, but Zach Steffen certainly justified his selection in the first half.
Well, the biggest talking point was whether or not Zach Steffen or Matt Turner would start. And so when Greg Berhalter announced it yesterday, I think it caught many of us by surprise because he hasn't been getting much time with Manchester City. Yet in this first half, he had to come up big 2 times. The first one, yeah, it's a simple save for a player of that caliber, but this one, you've got to come up big. And time again, in the history of this World Cup qualifying rivalry, your goalkeeper for the United States has had to come up big in moments. Zach Steffen did in the first half. Now, in saying that, this World Cup qualifying cycle, it's been a tale of 2 halves for the United States under Greg Berhalter. 8 of their 9 goals have come in the second half. And a lot of that is because of little adjustments he has made, but more so there's been a proactivity to the team when they come out in the second half. I'm going to be very interested, John, where is that proactivity against Mexico, who looked very calm at times, breaking down the United States defensive shape?
On the subject of goals later in the game, we should also be aware that half of Mexico's goals,
great point,
come in the 75th minute or later. And their position in the table at the summit is markedly sunnier than it might otherwise have been. They've had some narrow scrapes, winning Costa Rica when Costa Rica hit the post in stoppage time. 89th minute winner at home against Jamaica. Held in Panama by Canada in the Azteca, and even against Honduras, against 10 men, it took them a while to assert their authority and superiority. But there is the wildcard element of Christian Pulisic off the bench as a possibility for the United States this evening. Back beneath the now bright lights again, the rain continues to fall, and the referee Ivan Bartón from El Salvador gets this qualifier back underway. Occasion to savour. The US and Mexico co-hosting the World Cup in 2026. It could be 8 years before a match of this magnitude occurs, as a qualifier at least on US soil again. And who knows what the format will be for a 48-team World Cup. Such an integral part of the US soccer scene, this meeting every 4 years as part of the World Cup qualification platform. And the start of the next World Cup just over a year away in Qatar. Brazil confirming their qualification within the last 24 hours. Matters in Europe crystallising. Another moment of uncertainty, not the first from Johan Vasquez making his competitive debut. Timothy Weah. It's DeAndre Yedlin. determinate header by Rodriguez. That's only as far as Tyler Adams. Once more Yedlin. And Weah. Anthony Robinson. Corona. Laying it back to Chaco Rodriguez. 3 of the last 5 World Cup qualifiers between these nations were level 0-0 at half-time. Only one of those ended scoreless. The third time in quick succession is Yedlin. McKennie. Doing very well to keep that alive and turn it into a threat. Robinson's shot. Timothy Weah. Now it's Pepe. Adams. Shipped in looking for McKennie. Moment, there seemed like there might be a semblance of a shooting opportunity.
And I think if there's any little tactical switch Greg Berhalter in the United States may have saw in the first half is that neither Vasquez or Dominguez were really tested with decision-making of any kind of run into the channels. And so you can bring Timothy Weah off the right, you can also bring Brendan Aronson off the left, but maybe a little bit more from Ricardo Pepi going forward. But I would ask a few more questions of the 2 center backs of Mexico, because that is easily, hands down, their weakest part.
Romo. Lozano. Aronson into space for McKennie. Aronson wants it back. Raul Jimenez. Says he wants from the US tonight the same intensity that he remembers being key to the US's most famous victory over Mexico at a World Cup. Here's Weah, and there's McKennie! Stinging the palms of Memo Ochoa.
But it's exactly what I was talking about. Now all of a sudden your little rotations and decisions from Weah, now off the inside channel, Gallardo can't pick it up. Now Vasquez has to slide over. Now all of a sudden space opens up in and around the 18, and Weston McKennie's best trait is in that final third, being that 3rd or 4th attacking player. Good opportunity for the United States going forward.
Calendar year 2021, 4 US goals against Mexico, 2 of them from corner kicks. This will be Brendan Aronson. Weah at the near post, beyond him. Dealt with by Jimenez. Another corner.
We've got to get a little bit more quality from Brendan Aronson on these set pieces.
They have the tall totems, they have Miles Robinson. Of course they have Walker Zimmerman, they have Ricardo Pepi. Aronson. Only out as far as Musa.
Very few of the set pieces have gotten by this near post guy from the Mexican national team, but if you can, the United States have had a few half chances coming off the set pieces.
Christian Pulisic has been sent to keep himself warm on an increasingly chilly night. The consensus was that at best he would probably be able to give about 25 minutes tonight as he returns from a fairly lengthy injury.
I think you're delusional if anyone felt like Pulisic could start and give them 65, 70 minutes.
The US players quickly on the scene. Tyler Adams in evident distress. Raul Jimenez, the man with whom he collided.
And what a remarkable story for Raul Jimenez to recover from that awful head injury. And just seeing him return in England, John, it almost feels like the head injury took a little bit of the edge off of him. Except tonight, I've seen him challenge a few more aerial balls. He's been a little bit more physical. But even in England, he's dropped into the hole a little bit more than we're used to. And that just takes time. When you have an injury the way he had, it's going to take time and a lot of it to gain that confidence that he can play without thinking about that head injury that had happened.
And quite apart from that, in the time that he's been away, his team, Wolverhampton Wanderers, have changed their manager. So he's coming back into a different setup, a different philosophy under Bruno Lage. The headband will have to remain for the rest of his career, but it's 17 days short of a year since that sickening collision with Arsenal's David Luiz. This was thankfully a less painful coming together with Tyler Adams, who's now up on his feet. Checked out by the medical staff. So no hard feelings. At his best, Raul Jimenez is a magnificent centre-forward. 27 goals in all competitions in England 2 seasons ago at his very zenith.
Well, and especially for Tata Martino. He's got 12 goals in 19 games. I'm curious to see how Tyler Adams reacts from that, because remember, he missed a ton of games dealing with some back issues.
I was quite curious to see play restart with a Mexico free kick. Physical looks all round. Here's Yedlin. Now McKennie. Driving past Romo, trying to feed Aronson. Xavi Rodriguez played himself into trouble rather than out of it. Adams, thankfully okay, to Yedlin. Pepe. Yunus Musa. Positive start to the second half by the United States. McKennie. Timothy Ware. Lining one up, it hit Romo. It's Pepe! It was fortuitous, the route by which it came to him.
Well, and I love the exuberant energy from Timothy Way in this one. Why not? No pressure on the ball, 22 yards out, have a hit. But because the ball is spinning awkwardly from Ricardo Pepi, it's very difficult to turn that around and put it on goal. But if there's one player that ball needed to fall to, that's exactly who Greg Berhalter wanted. Unlucky for the United States, but a good start to this second half from Greg Berhalter and his men.
In terms of efforts on goal, Taylor, the US ahead of Mexico by 9-5. It rather masks the fact that Stefan had to make a couple of excellent first half saves. And we'll leave this for McKennie. Jonathan David has given Canada a 1-0 lead against Costa Rica in a game that kicked off only 5 minutes ahead of this one. It's El Salvador 0, Jamaica 0 after round about an hour, and earlier Panama came from 2 down to win 3-2 in Honduras. On by Zimmerman. Here's Pepe. There's Anthony Robinson with his weaker foot. The US need to scramble. Here's Chaco Rodriguez. Doing the bulk of the scrambling was Anthony Robinson. Then occurs the ire of the referee for cleverly guiding the ball away, so there was no chance of a quick restart. Parents over here to watch him. Turned up at training yesterday and asked to come in and take a little look. Used to travel across the Atlantic, the borders having reopened earlier this week. ESPN's coverage of US soccer is presented by the all-electric Volkswagen ID.4. Lozano. Loose touch seized on by Yedlin. Pepe was lurking in predatory fashion. Chucky Lozano. Jimenez. Romo. Corona. Alvarez. First ever meeting of these teams was a playoff game for the 1934 World Cup. In Rome, just 4 days ahead of the start of the competition. The US prevailed 4-2. It took them 46 years to beat Mexico again. Here's Ware, and Aronson rattled in at him. Corona. Rodriguez ran into Miles Robinson, who will be yellow carded. First American player to be booked in the last 5 World Cup qualifiers.
One that may have been unnecessary, but a little good combination from Corona and Rodriguez down the right side. But Anthony Robinson had this covered, and Miles Robinson was more worried about Chaca Rodriguez getting on the end of that, running into him, rightfully so, given a yellow. It hasn't been as seamless for the Mexicans in this second half, particularly in possession, and I think there's been a little adjustment from the United States, and a lot of that is off the continuity between the 3 in the midfield of Musa, McKennie, and Tyler Adams. We've seen very little from Alvarez in this second half, particularly with the ball at his feet.
Early shot from Stefan. And the distribution out to Yunus Musa. One of Stefan's strong points, playing out from the back. Getting the US moving in the right direction as quickly as he can. That time it's snuffed out.
Yeah, I think Musa may have an argument there.
Lozano. This is club football for Napoli. Plays it with some style. Gallardo. Herrera. There's a swell of support for the movement to boo Memo Ochoa. Really more than a whisper to start with, but it's increased in volume as the game has gone on. It's the one that Greg Berhalter singled out in the build-up to this game as showing a particular lack of respect he felt towards the United States. So part of the makeup of US-Mexico. wrapped up in villainy and infamy. Always memorable moments. Gucci Onyewu staring down Jared Borghetti. Rafa Marquez headbutting Kobe Jones, or indeed kicking Tim Howard. Lozano to Herrera. Romo. Zimmerman. Musa. For the referee to see sufficient contact to justify a free kick. Anthony Robinson. It's Yedlin. Adams. Into space for Yedlin. 5 waiting. Needed a cross with more depth. Instead of straight onto the head of Vasquez. Zimmerman now. McKennie. Where? ESPN's coverage of US soccer is presented by Volkswagen. Just past the hour mark in the critical World Cup qualifier between the United States and Mexico. John Champion alongside Taylor Twellman at TQL Stadium in Cincinnati, Ohio. First men's international to be played at this quite splendid new arena. $250 million worth of soccer real estate. Presenting the modern face of Major League Soccer.
I tweeted it before the game. This is a must-do for any soccer fan in the United States. What the Linder family has done, and even MLS Commissioner Don Garber, to put this kind of stadium in Cincinnati, Ohio. As Greg Berhalter said before the game, this is a mecca for soccer, and it truly is.
First hint of a flashpoint. Weston McKennie running a long way to get involved in something that doesn't need concern him. Heads beginning to prevail. Competence in the engine room. Herrera and Adams.
Well, the best part of Tata Martino's time in Atlanta is I kept notes. And I said one player in MLS that you would want on your team. Immediately, didn't even skip a beat, he said, Tyler Adams. Right now, I want Tyler Adams. Funny how times change, isn't it?
Zimmerman. Herrera. Jimenez. Herrera into a gap that Zimmerman fills. Fairly robust fashion too. Bailey away to the left in strident full voice. Here's Brendan Aronson. Christian Pulisic beginning to get ready down below us at the moment to come on. Should fulfill the idea we were given that 20 to 25 minutes was about the maximum. Christian Pulisic replacing Brendan Aronson, we hear. Aronson. And Checo Rodriguez keen to make sure that Aronson couldn't take the free kick. There also seemed to be a hand in Aronson's face there from Rodriguez. Almost in a clawing motion, which is why Aronson is down on the floor. We're a long way from it, but there seemed to be almost a clawing motion in Aronson's face. Remember, there is no VAR at this stage of World Cup qualifying in CONCACAF. We're led to believe that there might be later on. The last two sets of World Cup qualifiers may well have VAR introduced by that stage if it can be implemented. Yellow card brandished in the direction of Zach Steffen, who's told to retreat 60 yards to his goal. There's a yellow for McKennie, and that means that Weston McKennie is suspended for the next game, and Checo Rodriguez 2.
Well, I understand the yellow card given to Zach Steffen because he's literally running 60, 65 yards up to have a word. Now you're talking about the right arm here, right there. That's right into the face. But the referee can't see it because he's trying to initially deal with Checo Rodriguez. But look at it. It's into the right eye of Brendan Aronson, which then brings up the equation. Where does video review come into play? And again, here we are in World Cup qualifying without VAR.
Well, before the free kick, whilst we still discuss the actions of Rodriguez, on comes the prodigal son for his return to national team colours. Pulisic for Aronson, just over 20 minutes to play. There's Zimmerman. Right, let's wind back to that incident because we have leading referee Mark Clattenburg alongside us in the commentary booth in Cincinnati. Your impressions of that Rodriguez-Aronson incident?
I think he's a very, very lucky person because what he does is he puts his hand in his face, and I thought naturally he was just going to try and pull him up, but what he does is he claws his fingers into the eyes, and I think this is a red card.
But the point that Mark is making is the fact that if you want to see the hand and fingers close into the eye, you can't see that initially because the referee's trying to deal with it. And that is why you have to have VAR, and here we are. And the fact that they want to introduce it in January makes no sense to me because how do you start World Cup qualifying without it and then all of a sudden you're going to bring it in?
It's not here now. If it was, Mexico would quite possibly be playing with 10. There is the first moment of villainy in this particular edition of US-Mexico. Aronson fouled fairly grievously and slyly by that man Checo Rodriguez, and then immediately substituted. Pulisic on. And this is Gallardo for Mexico. Lozano. Back to Herrera. Lozano. Corona. Zimmerman stooping. taking a while to place the ball in the quadrant. Five in the penalty area for Mexico. By Pepe. Pulisic, and the referee has intervened and called a halt.
Well, he's blowing the whistle because he interfered on the play. The ball hit the back of him and stopped the counter from the United States, so he blew his whistle, rightfully so.
Ivan Bartone of El Salvador, the man in the middle tonight. Now, MLS Cup playoff action is coming up across our ESPN networks and ABC. Tata Martino's old club Atlanta at NYCFC. Live coverage from Yankee Stadium Sunday week, 3 Eastern on ABC. Followed by Portland, Minnesota from Providence Park from the west, 5:30 on ESPN. This game's 9 days away. Tito Corona. Robinson with the trip.
Now you're edging closer to that 75th minute, and I remind everyone that half of Mexico's goals in World Cup qualifying have come after the 75th minute. They grow into the game, they still have confidence that in critical moments they can pull something even against a run of play, as it may be in this second half. Now all of a sudden you've seen the momentum switch a little bit after Chaka Rodriguez gets lucky to not be given a red card. Now all of a sudden the momentum's on Mexico's side here.
Threat to the US goal. Back by Alvarez. Jimenez was in an offside position. Last match between the US and Mexico to end 0-0 was the March 2013 World Cup qualifier in the Azteca. The latest score from another of the games that kicked off just before this one. Jamaica have taken a late lead in El Salvador through West Ham United's Michail Antonio. El Salvador 0, Jamaica 1 is a latest score. Luis Romo is going to be replaced shortly, so too Corona. This is Weah for the US, and Weah does well, very well. Christian Pulisic on the pitch for a matter of moments with that innate and perfect sense of timing. The man who earlier in the year showed ice-cold nerve to win the Nations League final against Mexico, with a potentially decisive moment against the old enemy in a World Cup qualifier.
In the last 2 World Cup qualifying cycles, no player in CONCACAF has scored more goals than Christian Pulisic. It's having an understanding where the most dangerous space is, and knowing that Timothy Weah does a wonderful job of isolating his defender, taking him one-on-one, and then delivering a ball back post. But with the other 2 attacking players from the United States, flat-footed, you've got to be proactive, you've got to be progressive with your movement, and then you've got to get on the end of it and put it in the back of the net. What a huge goal for Christian Pulisic here in Cincinnati. The United States, rightfully so because of the second half, up 1-0 here at home.
He can only offer a cameo at the moment as his fitness returns, but it may prove to be a match-winning cameo. His 17th international goal. His 6th in the context of World Cup qualification. And if the US win, they displace Mexico at the top of the group tonight, which will be the midway point of the cycle. Ochoa. who was left helpless. Timothy Weah with a huge assist. Robinson. Pepe. 4 consecutive 2-0 wins in Columbus in World Cup qualifiers. Then, 5 years ago yesterday, a nasty late shock when Rafa Marquez won the game for Mexico. The old Crew Stadium in the 89th minute. No longer in Columbus, now in Cincinnati, in the same state. And the United States with their noses in front.
Just real good patience from the United States, trying to get Timothy Weah isolated 1v1 against his defender. But Pepe and Weston McKennie are flat-footed, waiting for that ball to be drawn back to the top of the 18. And there's nothing better as a manager when a plan comes together. That's exactly what happened, bringing on Christian Pulisic in the second half.
Mexico with some urgency. Lozano, unbeaten at the moment in the World Cup qualifiers. The masters of the late goal, which they've shown time and again already. Herrera. Weah was a little late in going for that.
This young, inexperienced team for the United States is going to grow up real quick here. Because what we've seen in the previous 6 games of World Cup qualifying is they've had to chase results in the second half. Now you're here at home. It's against your bitter rival in the game that you were judged most by. And you've got about 15+ minutes to preserve a lead. Do they have the composure? Do they have the tactical understanding to pull this off? We're going to learn a lot about this young team in the next 15 minutes here.
That's Herrera, and it's meat and drink. Perfectly straightforward for Zach Steffen. More activity down on the American bench with Kellen Acosta and Jesus Ferreira ready to come on. This is Yunus Musa taking on Alvarez. Enough of the ball to disrupt the attack. Carlos Rodriguez to Hector Herrera. Lozano. Anthony Robinson. Heightened sense of expectation. The bulk of this congregation now. Overwhelming support for the United States tonight. Gallardo. All the way through. It's Jimenez who tries to turn on it. Is he to be cast as the match winner? Or is it just an illusion? Mexico will have plenty to say in the remaining 9 minutes plus stoppage time. And it is to try and protect this lead that there is a change in midfield with Yunus Musa stepping out. And Kellen Acosta of the Colorado Rapids coming in. And a change up top as well. Ricardo Pepe's race is run, and he'll be replaced by his Dallas clubmate, Jesus Ferreira.
We've got fresh legs in here to chase the game. Ferreira now has a little bit more pace on the counter, but the United States has to be very careful they're not dropping too deep, allowing Mexico to find a little bit of rhythm, push numbers forward. They have frustrated Mexico the further up the field they've pressured them, because Zimmerman's had himself a really good game in dealing with those transitional moments.
Funes Mori is getting ready to come on for Mexico to add to their attacking intent, to increase the threat level. Out-and-out striker. It's Gallardo blocked off by Acosta. Lozano chasing the ball, which Adams had kept for himself. An outbreak of gamesmanship, not the first of the night. So Funes Mori for defensive midfielder Edson Alvarez. Needs must. Urgency is all with Mexico. Took out one of his own men. Miles Robinson limps as he gets to his feet. Weston McKennie surrenders the ball. Jesus Ferreira on for his first taste of competitive football in US colours. 2 previous substitute appearances and a couple of goals in a 7-0 thumping of Trinidad and Tobago. This is an altogether different level. Alvarado, and safely gathered by Zach Steffen. Alex Roldan of the Seattle Sounders has equalised in the 90th minute for El Salvador against Jamaica. 1-1 in stoppage time there. Earlier, Panama coming from 2 down to win 3-2 with 3 goals in the last 13 minutes in Honduras. Adams. The break for Ware. McKennie. And still Weston McKennie. And then Ferreira gives it up. Funes Mori, there was no foul. It's Adams. Now it's Ferreira. Pulisic. Ferreira.
Zimmerman has had himself one heck of a game. You know, there's one thing to have an idea defensively, to high press and put teams under pressure, but you've got to have 2 center backs that are comfortable playing 2v2 in the back and in transitional moments winning those battles, and both Miles Robinson and Walker Zimmerman have done so in the first 85 minutes here.
McKennie, and again McKennie! 2-0! Potentially defining moment for a growing yet youthful team.
The turnaround came weeks ago, and we saw glimpses of the old Weston McKennie show up for Juventus in Serie A. He talked so much about his shaken confidence in a recent article in The Athletic, and how he needed to re-energize and refocus of the kind of player he wanted to be. The player that every single fan for the United States loved at Schalke and loved initially at Juventus. It's not the freelancer off the field, it's the guy on the field that gets it done in a critical moment. Massive goal for Weston McKennie.
Mistake by Anthony Robinson. shot of no particular danger to Zach Steffen, who'll take a while in retrieving the ball. Special moment provided by Weston McKennie. From the shame of being dropped in September to the joy of producing a potentially decisive moment against the oldest enemy of all at the midway point on the road to redemption, the road to Qatar. And now it's a time for calm heads from the US. It's Pulisic. Here's Ware. Foul by Herrera. And Pulisic won't be getting up quickly.
No, but this is where you've got to have some real experience and understanding. You know what? The last thing you want to be is dancing on the ball, putting on a show, feeling yourself in front of this crowd, because all it takes is a player to come in late and injure you. Pulisic has come into this one and brought some real energy. Nobody's surprised by that. But it's the way the United States have reacted again in a World Cup qualifier in the second half. Two completely different teams, two completely different games, and a 2-goal lead in the 88th minute.
Walker Zimmerman. Here's Ware. Pulisic, US throw. Two defenders coming on shortly for the US. Chris Richards and Reggie Cannon. They're the insurance policy. McKennie. Yedlin. Funes Mori. Tripped by Miles Robinson. And Miles Robinson is on a yellow card, and Miles Robinson is shown another yellow, which inevitably turns to red. So both McKennie and Miles Robinson will be out of the next qualifier, and the US will have to defend a man light as they protect this precious lead.
But this is why I was talking about the first yellow card from Miles Robinson was completely unnecessary. Chucky Lozano knew exactly where Miles Robinson was. And I don't think there's really any argument there. That's a yellow card.
And it makes all the more necessary that these substitutions happen to get extra defensive ballast onto the pitch. So Miles Robinson actually being high-fived by his teammates, which is not the usual protocol after you've been sent off. Here's Herrera. And that's Ware. Still the US wait to get Richards on. Herrera, good challenge by a player who's about to be replaced in Timothy Ware. Hector Herrera. Steffen to collect. Of everything, the fourth official has had to wait to put up the board. It's 4 extra minutes here. Richards for Ware, who is getting a rousing round of applause, having played quite the role in what's looking more and more like a landmark US victory. Lozano, Jimenez. Kenny first to the scene, finding Pulisic. Here's Anthony Robinson. Pulisic sent sprawling. Robinson off on an adventure. On and on. Ferreira! So close to the crowning moment.
Just remarkable how flat-footed Mexico's been in this second half. It's been a talking point throughout all World Cup qualifying. Something happens at halftime from Greg Berhalter in the United States, and they flip a switch. They're a different team. They put the opposition on their heels. And tonight is a wonderful example of that.
Richards. Jimenez. Jimenez unwilling to be denied. It's Richards who clears it.
You know, you look at Weston McKennie, John, and there may not be a more charismatic player on this team, both on and off the field, and yet he's always shown a knack to show up in big moments. He's got 8 goals for the United States, 7 of those in competitive matches.
Goals that are worth their weight in gold. Well, first it was the Nations League final, then it was the Gold Cup final. This was the one, even though a trophy isn't on offer immediately, this was the one that was always going to matter far more than the rest. US on the brink of rewriting the history books. Lozano. And Lozano providing catching practice for Zach Steffen. And that may be the final threat from Mexico. One huge American roar, shortly to be unleashed. Volume rising, hopes rising, as the United States complete the hat-trick over Mexico. The first side in this rivalry to do so in a calendar year since 1937. One giant step closer to Qatar, one jarring blow to the chin of the oldest enemy of all. The scoreline familiar and welcome and celebrated and restorative after all the angst of the last cycle. Christian Pulisic played a big part off the bench. Weston McKennie clinched it. And it is Dos Acero again.
And the defining moment for Greg Berhalter and his tenure for the United States men's national team. And I understand the Gold Cup final, I understand the Nations League final, but this is a different level. He said it, the players have said it, and so now you're halfway through World Cup qualifying. And I asked that question before this game started. Where would the United States be mentally after this one? It's been a long, long time since the United States have had the self-belief in their own program and what they're doing. And this is a defining moment for Greg Berhalter and the project that he overtook a couple years ago.
This, the headline of the 4 games played tonight, and the United States leapfrog above Mexico at the midway point of CONCACAF World Cup qualifying. Canada not so far back, Panama still with a say in things. These, the 2 giants of CONCACAF, have gone toe-to-toe, and the knockout blows have been landed first by Pulisic and then by McKennie. And this story continues to unfold of a swinging of the pendulum since the turning of the millennium.
When you talk about the pendulum, John, that happens within the game. 11 goals in World Cup qualifying for the United States. 10 of those in the second half, all from open play. A resounding performance from every single player. Walker, Zimmerman, Anthony, every single player did their job, including Zach Steffen with a huge 2 saves in the first half. This is a special night for the United States Soccer Federation because it's been a long time coming.
More memories indelibly imprinted in the minds of the fans of the US men's national team. We've heard the views of former US international Taylor Twellman. Let's get the thoughts of Casey Keller and Jermaine Jones, who are down there at the set with Sebastian.
John, Taylor, great stuff, an amazing atmosphere, an amazing result for the United States as they win, not 2-0, 2-0 over Mexico. It had to be 2-0, and guys, it really had to be Christian Pulisic off the bench with a goal. What a moment, this place exploded, Jermaine.
Yeah, we all talked about it, that he's the special one, and he's the star in this group. And you saw it, he came in, showed up again, start the road to the win, and yeah, he's a special thing. But then listen to this crowd, listen to the stadium atmosphere. It's amazing what's going on here.
It was really good once again. I mean, we saw some good adjustments at halftime. You said at halftime, Jermaine, you said it rightfully so, that probably Mexico had shaded the best chances of the first half. Well, the second half, the U.S. was clearly the better side, and they got their reward in the end. Eventually, it finally took a quality service into the box. Look, I'm going to keep harping on it because it's something that I know that if this team can consistently get better service into the box, we'll have more results like this. And it just took a while. So great ball from Weah, excellent positioning from Pulisic. And then after that, to be able to get the second and to have you, Seb, be able to say 2-0 once again.
2-0. 2-0. It lives on from Columbus now to Cincinnati. That tradition for the U.S. men's national team alive and well. You guys talk about the difference from the first half to the second half. What were the changes? What was the difference? Why did the U.S. seem to be so much better in the second half?
I think in general, I think they saw that they had luck in the first half, and then they go in, they make adjustments. I think it, like the first goal, you can see it. Get the wingers, get them isolated, get them the chance to get 1-against-1s against them, and then get good crosses in. But again, we talk about Christian Pulisic. He had the smell to go then to the first post. He makes a deep run, good cross from where, and you get rewarded for that. And I think that's important.
We talked about too many times in the first half that there's unforced errors that gave possession away. Well, that stopped the flow of getting into the attack, but then it also gave opportunities for Mexico to get on the counter and be dangerous. They stopped giving a lot of those balls away in the second half and didn't allow, and Mexico weren't able to create out of the back. Good high pressure. You heard John and Taylor talk about how good Walker Zimmerman was, how good that back four was, putting pressure on Mexico high, making it difficult. In the second half, perfect.
The game winner tonight then from Christian Pulisic. He's standing by with our Sam Borden. Sam.
Christian, can you describe what it felt like to be on the field for a moment like that?
Honestly, it was incredible. The fans made it all that much better. They really came out tonight. It was so loud in there, and just moments like that are what we live for. So,
how would you describe the atmosphere in here and the intensity of this game?
Yeah, I mean, USA-Mexico, you know what you're going to get. The intensity was, it was a crazy game for sure. That's what we expected. It was tough to break them down, and I'm happy I could come in and help us out. And yeah, in the end, that's 3 huge points.
To be first place halfway through this cycle, how do you feel about where the team is?
We're definitely happy with where we are. We're in a good spot now. We have a lot of games left to play, and this is just one step closer to get us to the World Cup.
Thanks very much. Sebby.
Thank you, Sam. We saw this team, Casey, without Christian Pulisic in the last World Cup qualifying window. We wondered what Greg Berhalter would get out of him, not just tonight, but also against Jamaica. It wasn't the quantity, but boy, it was the quality.
Well, and that's it. Sometimes you need your special players to rise in the special moments. And there's a reason why, Jermaine, you said he's the star of this team.
Yeah.
And you need your stars in big occasions. If your stars wilt, if they kind of don't show up when you need them the most, are they really your stars? This again proves you got two of your biggest players, Christian and then Weston in an opportunity when I didn't think he had his best game, but he kept fighting, he kept digging, and he got the reward.
I think, you know, I watched Christian when he started making his warm-up, and you were able to see that he knew that there was a time that maybe around the 60 he would come, and you were seeing it every time he looked over to see what's going on, when is my shot, when I'm coming. Because, hey, this kid is a good player, and he showed it most of the time so far in his career. And we talked before, and we said if he gets a chance to come in, he has his impact, and he showed his impact exactly how you say. Weston maybe don't play the good game so good, you know, for our standards, how we think, you know, we want to see him.
You expect a lot.
Exactly, because we all know what this kid can, you know, especially now scoring a goal like this today too. I'm happy for him that he showed up too, and, you know, reward for himself a goal.
It really is, Casey, a redemption story for Weston McKennie from being effectively, you know, removed from the team after violating COVID protocols in Nashville in the second match day of this qualifying cycle. Now he's a hero.
Yeah, well, and there was times in this match where he gave the ball away when you know he shouldn't have. But I love that you keep that confidence going. You keep fighting, you keep it, and he gets the benefit of the deflection, falls to him, and then the composure to slot it. Brilliant.
Yeah. Hold on, what are the fans chanting here? What are they chanting here? There we go. I thought it was 2-0, but no, it's Casey Keller. Casey Keller, they love you here. In Cincinnati, they love this U.S. national team well. How about that, man? Zach Steffen, Casey. What a performance, especially in that first half. The U.S. needed him.
Yeah. Look, I mean, the first save was a nice confidence booster. It was far enough back. It wasn't hit with pace. He had shot late, made the save. The second one was the big one. Yep. The one-on-one. Chucky Lozano comes through. DeAndre comes over and adds pressure, but he stands up well, makes the big save, keeps it at 0-0, gives the team the opportunity to make the adjustments at halftime, and then let his side go get the 2 goals.
He's got to be the #1 moving forward, right, after this performance?
Yeah, you know, but for Matt Turner, you have to say, too, all respect for him, what he did, and he showed up today with the save, exactly you said. And you can see Lozano, after he shot the goal, he looked back and be like, what happened?
How did he go in?
That? So, if we talk again, we can be blessed. We have 2 amazing goalkeepers. He showed it today. Matt Turner showed it in the upper couple days. So,
do you think Steffen's the #1 moving forward? Has he won the job back tonight? I mean, it's hard to say no, Casey. He was so good. It's the biggest game.
No,
right?
it was a good all-around solid performance. Yeah. He made the saves in the first half when he needed to. Second half came for the crosses, clean balls coming through, and I also like the fact that there showed a level of maturity as well, where they weren't trying to play out of the back. If I needed to clear it, he cleared it.
Just look at it. You can see he has the 1, so he's the #1 for sure.
#1 on his jersey, about to speak with our Sam Borden down on the sidelines here at TQL Stadium. Let's get it down to Sam.
Zach, how would you describe the emotion on a night like this one?
It was high. Yeah, the passion was there, the heart was there, the fight was there. Yeah, the guys were incredible for 95 minutes, and that's what it takes. And yeah, emotions were very high.
What was it like to see Christian back with the team and doing the kinds of things that he does?
Yeah, man. I mean, it's great to see him back healthy, and yeah, we need him here, and you saw why. So yeah, I'm really happy for him, and yeah, good night all in all.
Thanks very much. Appreciate it.
Zach Steffen then keeping the clean sheet as the United States wins. You just heard the fans chanting it here at TQL Stadium. 2-0 over Mexico in this World Cup qualifier, a result that for the moment has the United States atop the qualifying table halfway through this cycle. A far cry from 4 years ago when the United States missed out on the World Cup in Russia. Zach Steffen headed to a celebratory locker room. Our coverage continues from Cincinnati after the break. Christian Pulisic, the game winner, as the United States tops their arch-rival, Mexico. VO on the BioSteel. Welcome back to Cincinnati, United States. 2-0 winners over Mexico, courtesy Christian Pulisic and Weston McKennie. Let's take a look at the moment of the match, hydrated by BioSteel, and it is the game winner in the 75th minute. Christian Pulisic off this assist from Timothy Weah, who, guys, was really good tonight.
Yeah, I think you can see he gets isolated. 1-against-1 is tough for him to stop him, and then good cross, good run, first post, 1-0 USA. Big difference maker Weah tonight, Casey.
Yeah, it was, and I think we're seeing a maturity in Weah, that he's understanding, you know, kind of what his role is in that wide. I also loved at different times when he tracked back, defended, knew what it meant for what the team needed, but that quality of cross at that time, you couldn't ask for anything more.
We had a pretty good view of it from here. Let's get some sound from the guys who had a bird's eye view of it at TQL Stadium here in Cincinnati. John Champion, Taylor Twellman, what a game.
Yeah, it looked pretty good from where we were looking from our eerie vantage point up beneath the roof of the stand. I'm mystified, though, by the way that the pendulum swung in this game. Again, because it's a familiar theme. First half, in the game, but second best to Mexico. Second half, clearly the better team. So what happens in the locker room at half-time?
I don't know, because I don't know if I've ever seen a trend like this, because usually when you've gone 4 games of being second best in the first half, you try to flip the script and try to change that. But you and I were there for Costa Rica and Columbus, and they needed a desk goal of the year cut type of situation to get them tied up into halftime. So whatever it may be, maybe it's the inexperience but youthfulness of the group. So maybe there's an energy there. I thought what was very impressive to me, though, John, is they kept going for it. You know, they weren't shy of the moment.
Even when passes were going astray in the first half.
Absolutely. They were a little sloppy. Even Tyler Adams of the world for the United States were giving away possession. I think Mexico was extremely defeated to not leave that first half with a goal. But the second half is as impressed as I've been of this team in a long, long time because of how 50-50 the first half was.
Now, I know it goes against the grain, but just try and appreciate a defender for once in your life. Walker Zimmerman tonight.
Fantastic. Best game he's ever had for the United States in that jersey, in the biggest game he's ever played in. And I think what was very critical for Walker Zimmerman is, can you defend in transitional moments when you're isolated a little bit in 1v1 situations? In the Gold Cup, in Nations League, these kinds of situations we've seen, and even in MLS to a certain level, Walker Zimmerman has been exposed when he gets in those spots. He was fantastic, the best game he's played. He should be extremely proud, and he's put his name in a hat. Remember, John, the last round of games, he wasn't even initially getting called in. He got called in, played 2 of those 3 games. I thought tonight he was really good.
And just in terms of the maturation, bearing in mind this is such a young team, average age just over 23, which other players caught your eye in terms of almost maturing in front of our eyes tonight?
Weston McKennie. This is a player that was suspended, kicked off the team, and sent home.
Yes.
And Greg Berhalter said he's not done with the team, but this is a moment we're going to learn a lot about Weston McKennie. And a lot of us said, you know what, our money's on Weston McKennie because he's the kind of charismatic player that's going to figure it out. He did so. We saw glimpses of it with Juventus at Serie A, but tonight, the Jermaine Joneses of the world that say they want to see the Schalke Weston McKennie, you saw that. He wasn't trying to Spielmark. He wasn't trying to be the special player in the midfield. He did his job, he did his role, kept it simple, and deservedly so got the second goal.
Yeah, and I think our other thought at the end of all this is, quite apart from going top of the group at the midway point, what this does do is just takes a bit of the pressure off those away trips at the back end of qualifying to Costa Rica, to Canada, and of course to the Azteca to face Mexico.
Absolutely, guys. And of course, the next trip for the United States away to Jamaica next Tuesday. But for sure, the pressure off there as we look at the updated World Cup qualifying table in CONCACAF. The United States right now, first place over Mexico. And there you see the rest of the teams. Top 3 go directly to Qatar, 4th into that intercontinental playoff. Let's get you caught up on everything else that has happened around the region tonight. We'll start with Honduras and Panama, a game that started off with Honduras at home up 2-0, but took a dramatic turn late. 77th minute, Cecilio Waterman makes it 2-1. Panama, the comeback is on. 80th minute, Panama equalizes. Cesar Yanis, yes! And Panama, the shock entry into the World Cup in 2018, they may be believing again. 3-2 winners in Honduras. Eric Davis, the set piece for the late winner for Panama. Canada and Costa Rica. 0-0 at the half, second half. Leonel Moreira, the goalie for Costa Rica, in for Keylor Navas, drops it, and Jonathan David scores. Casey, in terms of goalie errors, this is a big one.
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, you're coming in for obviously one of the top goalkeepers in the world. Always a tough task, but then to just gift a winner to Canada, that's tough.
Canada rolling up 1-0 at Salvador and Jamaica. Scoreless late, and in the 82nd, Mikel Antonio, new to the team. He's going to make some quick fans with a goal like that, putting the Jamaicans up 1-0 late against El Salvador. But Seattle Sounders, Alex Roldan with the late equalizer.
Come on, Sounders!
How about, yeah, there it is. Casey Keller, courtesy Sounders TV. Great story there, Alex Roldan, his brother Christian on this U.S. team. And what a moment there to tie the game late for El Salvador. So guys, I want to talk big picture, but I don't want to be hyperbolic. Before the U.S. beat Mexico in the Nations League this summer, the U.S. had not beaten Mexico in a competitive match in 8 years. And now in 5 months, they've beaten them 3 times. Has the pendulum swung? Is the U.S. now the best team in CONCACAF, Casey?
This year, yes. This is still a very talented Mexico team, and a team that today, I think the point was right, that they were disappointed. They probably should have been a goal up in the first half. They didn't take it. And again, we saw a young U.S. squad continue to mature in front of our eyes. And to have that performance in the second half, to get not only just get the 2 goals, but really, Zach didn't have to make a tough save in the second half, and that shows a level of maturity that we wouldn't have seen even at the start of this qualifying cycle.
Yeah, I think that, you know, when you see or when you hear us talk, like how we criticize this young group, right? But at the end, it comes down. They play against their top team or the top rival with Mexico, and they beat them 3 times. That shows that this team has quality and this team is good, you know, and today they showed it again. A sloppy start in the beginning, you were lucky that you're not going down, but then coming out of this and showing in the second half a definitely good team and good
What
thing.
was the thing we've been waiting for in that 8-year period? A level of heart.
Yeah.
What have we seen in these 3 performances to beat Mexico? A whole lot of heart.
Yeah,
absolutely. The first time since 1937 that either of these 2 teams has won 3 games in
I
a
wasn't
series
even playing back then.
in a calendar year. The celebrations continue from Cincinnati in a moment. Don't go far. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Cincinnati. United States beating Mexico by a final score of 2-0 earlier. Champ, Volkswagen's telepresence player honoree robot, joined the U.S. men's national team during their pre-match ceremonies. Today's virtual honoree is Anthony. He's a 7-year-old U.S. soccer superfan who had an intense battle with leukemia for 3.5 years. In August of 2020, he had his last chemo treatment and is in rehabilitation today. Thanks to Champ, VW is giving fans like him experiences that otherwise would not be able to happen due to challenging circumstances or hardships. Here's a look at your goals from tonight. Tim Weah serving up an assist in the 75th minute to the star man, Christian Pulisic. And then Weston McKennie about 9 minutes after that, weaving his way through the Mexican defense, and the man who's been on a goal-scoring tear for Juventus in Italy adds one to his international tally. Another big one at that, as the final score ends 2-0. All right, guys, let's get some final thoughts. We've talked a lot about what we've learned about this young team. I want to focus a little bit on the manager. What did we learn about Greg Berhalter tonight, who has been criticized quite a bit, but halfway through, Casey's got his team sitting atop CONCACAF.
Exactly, and for me, it's really easy. He's had a short time to figure out which players he knows he can count on when it really matters, and they stepped up once again.
Jermaine?
Yeah, I think that he you know, I'm always saying I'm a big fan of him, and he has a young group. I think he's the right guy for that position, and he shows it, number one on the table.
I also like that he's got pragmatic in this game. You didn't see the recklessly playing out of the back that we saw in the first 2 matches. They bypassed that line. They waited for their opportunity. They made adjustments at halftime and got the scoreline. Seb, what was the scoreline again?
You would say 2-0. I would say 2-0. And so are the fans here in Cincinnati. The 2 goals from Christian Pulisic and Weston McKennie, 2 of the young stars on this U.S. national team. A national team that for the moment is atop CONCACAF World Cup qualifying at the halfway point. From Cincinnati, thanks for watching. Up next, college basketball, Villanova against UCLA.
Growing up, players like Raul Jimenez. You know, it's just playing Mexico. I feel like that brings a little more motivation in me.
We beat them twice this year, and that's in the past. Now it's another opportunity. They're going to come guns blazing.
No vamos a enfrentar el partido de mañana pensando en el empate.
I can obviously there's a little more into that than just playing Costa Rica or playing Panama.
Fought game where it can go either way, but you always want to come out on top.
Deep position. Up through the middle goes Lozano. And Lozano is foiled by a very good stop. In early towards Corona. The bigger chances are coming Mexico's way. Here's Ware. And there's McKennie. Now you're talking about the right arm here. Right there. That's right into the face. And Ware does well, very well. Christian Pulisic on the pitch.
Football Americas is underway here on ESPN Plus and live from Cincinnati. TQL Stadium to be precise, where we just witnessed the 73rd all-time meeting on the international stage between the United States and Mexico. And what a classic it was. It finished 2-0. It had to. And the game winner came from Christian Pulisic. It almost felt like it had to. Hercules Gomez, Mauricio Pedrosa with me here on set. We're going to hear from a little bit of everybody tonight. We got Taylor, we got John Champion, we got Jermaine Jones running around here somewhere. We're going to hear from Sam Borden. We got post-game pressers from Greg Berhalter and Tata Martino that we will bring you over the next hour or so. And of course, all this available on the Football Americas podcast. Before we get to the highlights, though, just real quick, first impressions of the match.
Masterclass second half. Very tight, what we thought it would be first half, back and forth, sloppy, a few mistakes, but that second half from Greg Berhalter's men, they never gave Mexico the ball.
You're giving Greg Berhalter some credit here.
I am, and we have to give him credit. Honestly, the way he set them up to press in transition and just bypass Mexico's press. Mexico's midfield never had the ball. I know John Herman gave him the blueprint, but Greg Berhalter almost perfected it.
Now, the United States clearly better in the second half. I thought Mexico were better in the first half, but you told me at halftime you saw it the other way.
Yeah, I completely saw it the other way. I never saw Mexico in control of the game, and that was really concerning, because if we go back to what we saw during Nations League final and Gold Cup final, yes, the U.S. won that game, but Mexico felt like they played well. In this case, this is one of the worst performances I've seen from a Mexican national team at a high-stakes game, which is very concerning, because we thought at this point of Tata Martino's tenure, the team should look better than this. They were outcoached and outperformed.
You know, you're talking about you never thought they were in control. Well, goals change games. And if Tecatito Corona scores that's on a platter, that ball that Chucky Lozano serves to him, that completely changes the complexion of this game. And we're talking about something else.
All right, well, let's get to some of those highlights from this match as the United States goes top of the CONCACAF World Cup qualifying table with a 2-0 win over Mexico. Sellout crowd here in Cincinnati. They brought the noise, 26,000 plus, and I think it's safe to say a very pro U.S. crowd in this one. First chance of the game for Mexico, 12th minute. Edson the shot, Steffen, first test, and he answered the call.
We talk about Zach Steffen not playing consistently. Is he in form? Looked pretty in form here. He was massive in the first half.
Absolutely, the big save there. Mexico pressing on in the first half. Chucky Lozano again in one-on-one, trying to beat Steffen to the near post. Couldn't do it.
Yeah, but again, both chances coming off U.S. men's national team mistakes, and Mexico not being able to capitalize. That was crucial at that spot of the game.
And this is it right here. We talk about this. He puts that away. Maybe they can be a little bit more in control, have the U.S. men's national team chase the game. They did not. And it was U.S. men's national team in the second half just taking over.
Falta de contundencia, they would say in Mexico.
Yes, sir.
Lack of finishing. So a little bit later on, Yunus Musa.
Musaya, please.
Oh, excuse me. Is that his new nickname now?
Yunus Musaya. I mean, he was just silky on the ball. What a talented player.
Just take a look at the numbers. The U.S. men's national team always had numbers at the other half of the pitch, and Mexico was never able to do that. This is a great save by Memo Ochoa.
Yeah, but this is the point in the game where you're thinking maybe the U.S. men's national team is being a little wasteful. No, Seb? You think they need to put this away because at any moment, the talent that Mexico has in the offensive end, they can make you pay for it.
Yeah, but you also kind of sense that maybe there was a goal coming for the United States. The pressure kind of kept tilting and tilting towards that Mexican goal. Tim Weah, boy, what a spark plug he was tonight.
Yeah, he was very good. Ricardo Pepi maybe a little over anxious all night. Maybe be a little bit more composed. That's going to fall for you. You put that away. He will learn. He's very young, 18 years of age. A big game for him. Brandon Aronson, and this is where he gets chippy. What's this? Chaka, eyes in the face.
I can tell you what it is. It's frustration because he was having such a bad game. And he was just frustrated. And he took it with
That's
Brandon.
Not Brandon Aronson's fault.
Hey, that should have been a red, yeah?
How was that not a red card, by the way?
That's a red.
No, we don't have VAR yet. Here's Tim Weah, 75th minute, isolated one-on-one with Jesus Gallardo, beats him, and what a run from Christian Pulisic.
Man of the moment. How much will Christian Pulisic play? Timothy Weah was massive all night. He was one of the really, really bright spots for the U.S. men's national team. Christian Pulisic comes on immediate.
It was 5 minutes after he came on.
Immediate results, and how about this? You see
Man in the mirror is what's written on his shirt. Of course, a reference to the trash talk from Memo Ochoa earlier in the week saying that Mexico is the mirror in which the U.S. wants to see itself. Well, Weston McKennie finishing the deal, making it 2-0 in the 84th.
Is Weston McKennie just turning into that guy that just always hurts Mexico?
Big games call for big goals. Let's hear from Christian Pulisic, who delivered one after.
We're definitely happy with where we are. We're in a good spot now. We have a lot of games left to play, and this is just one step closer to get us to the World Cup.
Thanks very much. Stevie.
All right, we'll re-rack that interview. You hear from the top.
Man, a few words.
Yeah, he did. He spoke. He spoke with Sam Borden right after the match, but almost like if Hollywood wrote the script, Herc, you couldn't have asked for more. We thought he would have an impact, but 6 minutes in, what a moment.
6 minutes in the most un-Christian Pulisic way.
What do you mean?
Well, a header in the box, getting on the end of something, you would almost think he'd be the guy taking somebody on, and it'd be a finish where he finds that open space because he creates that space for himself. No, he ends up being that second 9 in the box, finishing off a header from a great play from Timothy Weah.
So I'm thinking back to the game against Panama for the United States, and in that match there were 7 players from Major League Soccer in the United States, 11, and I asked, I think justifiably, if MLS was adequately preparing players for the intensity of World Cup qualifiers. Your 2 outside backs tonight for Mexico are Liga MX veterans.
Yep.
And Mal, they did not have a good game. Is that a knock on the Mexican top flight?
Has to be in a way. But I would say also this, because we were questioning the center backs for this game for Mexico. Obviously, Araujo suspended, Cesar Montes injured. Who was going to replace them? We are going to disagree in one of those center backs. Well, I want to go back to the goal by Christian Pulisic. He beats Cata Dominguez easily. And then the second goal is another mistake by Cata Dominguez. So that's a question mark. Now, going back to the fullbacks, I don't know what Tata Martino is going to do, but something has to change because he has tried with 3 different right backs, no answer. And Jesus Gallardo, he's not a defender. He used to be a winger that now plays as a left back. So big question marks again for Mexico's back line.
You mentioned Liga MX. Romo did not have a good game.
Nope.
Johan Vazquez is 5 games in the top flight. So there may be something to be said. Maybe those players aren't at the same level as European players, but that's normal. It's not something unheard of. That said, they had a very poor outing. And when you don't, we talk about winning duels, 1v1 duels, when not enough of those players win their duels, you get that type of performance.
All right, let's hear from Christian Pulisic then. Here's the post-game interview with Sam Borden. Actually, let's go back to the play itself. The goal itself in the 75th minute, the game winner, as Christian Pulisic able to open the scoring here. And there you see it. Yeah, he does get in between the two center backs now.
Yeah, he does. First of all, Jesus Gallardo giving a lot of space for the cross. But again, Christian Pulisic was what? This was his third, fourth minute into
6
the game.
minutes in.
And there cannot be a lack of concentration like that by Cata Domingos. Now, is it his fault? He has never been a regular player for the Mexican national team. And now you put him into this massive, huge game.
Are you sure
and
that
I don't know
Cata
if it
Domingos?
was too much for him.
I'm seeing Johan Vasquez there on that left-hand side, left center back side.
He played okay.
I'm saying the guy
he
who
was
got
solid.
beat. But either way, it's to be expected because they've not played with the Mexican national team. You mean you lose Cesar Montes, who let's
be honest. Before the qualifying campaign, Herc, we thought the center back position was the weakness on this team.
Yes.
And that's with Araujo healthy and Cesar Montes.
Correct.
Araujo, Melo, and Cesar Montes healthy. These are third, fourth, fifth string choices.
And that's what I'm getting at. Cesar Montes was not only your best defender, but one of your most informed players. He's gone. Hector Moreno, who's getting a little long in the tooth, can't come back because of muscular injuries. Nestor Araujo is suspended. Now you're going into Johan Vasquez, who's only sat in the bench in a World Cup qualifier. You're going into Cata Dominguez, who's a Liga MX Cruz Azul lifer, very dependable, solid back, but not necessarily your first choice. So you're absolutely right.
I think one of the big differences in this game might just be the fact that the stars for the United States showed up and the stars for Mexico were really quiet, especially across that front three. Jimenez, Chucky, Tecatito, it wasn't there.
So it can be a thing of quality, but I think intensity is a key word here. The U.S. men's national team wanted it more than the Mexican team, and it showed in the second half. And the other thing that's really concerning is I thought collectively the outing by the U.S. men's national team was very good, really good. But collectively tonight, Mexico, I don't know what Tata Martino is doing in that locker room.
This is what I want to get to. I want to get to Tata
understand.
Martino for a second. You talked about they wanted it more. They were set up to do better. So we talked about Zach Steffen, and why is Zach Steffen in here? You saw how many times he beat the press. So when they beat the press, it's a transition game, and all of a sudden they're chasing shadows. In the midfield, they were overwhelmed. And then in the second half, if we want to talk about their talented players, Tecatito, Chucky Lozano, Raul Jimenez, how many times did they touch the ball? That's a big issue. If your most talented players can't get on the ball, credit to the U.S. men's national team.
We're talking about kind of the very specifics of the game right now, but before the U.S. beat Mexico in the Nations League final, it'd been 8 years since the U.S. had beaten Mexico in a competitive match. Now they've done it 3 times in 5 months. It's the Gigante de CONCACAF question. Is the United States the new giant of this region?
Well, they're certainly setting themselves up to be the new giant. It's just almost a transition of power.
Herc, say it with confidence.
No.
Go ahead, say it with confidence. It's okay. It's okay.
Here's what's missing. They've all been on U.S. soil. Okay. It's that star performance. It's that.
I think 2 of the 3 you would argue were home crowds.
Thank you. There's an asterisk, big asterisk for that.
Until you do it in Mexico, until you do it in front of their people, in front of their crowd, in front of their country. That's when you can say El Gigante.
Mao, you work on ESPN Deportes all the time. What will they be saying about this in Mexico? Will they see that the pendulum has swung north?
So Herc's advice of taking a breath, it's actually very useful because I take no pleasure on saying this, but I think the question will be, is Tata Martino the right guy for that job?
No doubt.
Is he fit for? No doubt he is, or no doubt he has to be a question?
No doubt that's a question.
Oh, yeah, it is a question.
Yeah,
but Herc, before on ESPN Deportes, we were having this conversation, and the general consensus was, regardless of the score, Tata Martino has job security. It's not the result. It's not the 2-0. It's the performance on that pitch that is very poor.
Transcendencia. They want to transcend. They want to not only be giants of CONCACAF, but get to the next level at a World Cup, the Quinto Partido and beyond. And it's a very valid question. How can you do that if now 3 games you can't beat the U.S.?
Remember that I told you on Football Americas that I saw not one single difference between Juan Carlos Osorio's team and Tata Martino's team. I finally,
I did.
I finally
Juan
found
Carlos Osorio won in the US.
Thank you. Finally saw a difference. Juan Carlos Osorio was able to beat the U.S. men's national team. You used to see an idea of play. That team had a personality, an identity.
Okay,
this team doesn't have it.
Are we being a little unfair with Mexico because they've only won once in the last 48 years against the U.S. on U.S. soil and World Cup qualifiers?
Yeah,
so,
but it was the last one.
Okay, so but what I'm going is, are we being a little? I don't want to say too critical, but are we? Not
how many times?
Doing it justice
How many times were
the
they?
U.S. men's national is very strong at home versus Mexico.
Herc, how many times were they outplayed like they were tonight?
A lot of those dos a zeros.
Not like this. Not like the second half.
I can't disagree with you, Mal. I mean, in terms of big game Mexico performances, it really is hard to go back and find one worse than this. In terms of good performances, Weston McKennie, he had one tonight. Let's hear from Weston after the match.
Weston, how would you describe the emotion at the end of a night like this one?
Definitely a special one. You know, it's a rivalry game, and it's a really, really important match for qualifiers. And you know, we have one goal, and that's to make it to the World Cup. Mexico is just one of those teams that's in the way of that. And you know, today we had the desire to win, and we knew what our goal was, and we came out here and we showed why we deserve to go to the World Cup, and we showed why we're the better team.
What did you see from the goal that Christian scored? How did it play out in front of you?
Honestly, I mean, I just had a feeling whenever he was coming in that we were going to score. I mean, he has that effect, and you know, I just played out. I saw it go in, and I said, hey, that's a good welcome back present. So definitely helps us out, and yeah, definitely a good way to start the 2-0 lead.
After what you went through in the first window, what did it mean to be able to be a part of this game and contribute in the way that you did?
You know, for me, what happens in the past stays in the past, and I won't go into detail about it. I'm just here, you know, with my team now and in the present. And like I said, it was good to be out here and help them and help, you know, the big goal, which is to get to the World Cup.
First place halfway through the cycle, how do you feel about where the team is right at this moment?
I think right now, like I said, we focus on the present, and I think it's a good place to be. But we know we have to take it one game at a time, and we can't get too ahead of ourselves. Because, you know, like you said, we're only halfway there, and we want to, you know, not just get to the World Cup, but we want to finish and show our dominance in CONCACAF.
Thanks very much. I appreciate it.
The words of Weston McKennie with our Sam Borden post-match. There's a look at the last 10 competitive matches between these two teams. For a long time, there's a lot of draws and a lot of Mexico wins. Until the last three, the United States ripping off 3 straight competitive wins over Mexico for the first time since a stretch between 2005 and 2009. Joining us now here on Football Americas, former U.S. midfielder Jermaine Jones. Jermaine, Herc wouldn't say it. He wouldn't cross the bridge. He wouldn't say that the United States are the new giants of CONCACAF. Will you?
Go ahead, man.
Go ahead.
It's okay.
I think, you know, we all should be careful what we say. You know, it's still step by step. Now they made a big step again, and it shows like that they're not have to be scared for Mexico anymore. So that's what it is. There was a lot of talk before the game, but at the end, America or U.S. won now 3 games in a row against them, and that's a signal, right? And I think Mexico knows that. And but still, I think we should look step by step, because it's a young group, and they will make mistakes. They will lose games too. And so we have to, you know, address that. And I think you're right. Yeah, we should be not jumping too far. We can say.
I told Sebi until we see them do it in Mexico, because they've all been home wins. They've all been on U.S. soil. Until you see that happen in Mexico, then you can really say, whoa, what's going on here? Is there a nuevo gigante, a new giant in CONCACAF? And they could possibly do it, because the way they just played, Canada outplayed Mexico in Mexico. And the way the U.S. just played in the second half, there's nothing that's telling me they couldn't do that again in Azteca.
Yeah, we don't know that Mexico will be playing in Azteca when this game eventually comes around, but Azteca's not been the fortress Mal that it was in the past. You could see this U.S. team, as they played tonight, against this Mexico as they played tonight, getting not just a draw, maybe 3 points.
Yeah, it has not, and we all know what's looming over the Mexican national team in terms of home games because of the ban by FIFA. We all know the homophobic chant, and that's brought consequences. But I think Jermaine said something very, very important, and I want to touch on that again. This is a very young group. And the fact that these young players already have this kind of experience, beating a more experienced Mexican side, that's just going to build and build confidence for them. So again, if you have a young group and they're gaining confidence, then how could you not believe they are set for bigger stages than just this? And by big stage, I mean Estadio Azteca.
Right.
Yeah.
Jermaine just mentioned, I'm sorry, Jermaine, you just mentioned something. You said they don't have to be scared. I think sometimes when you're that young, you're too naive to be scared, and that's a good thing for these guys.
Yeah, that's what it is. I think that you can see it. They're making mistakes. So they're making mistakes in their game, but then they get adjusted to it, and then you can see that if they have the trust in themselves and they take players on and in their belief really that they have the quality to beat Mexico or beat Panama or all the teams, then this team has a big future, because we talk and still about young players and they will develop, and that's like where you have with Mexico now. Like they have to see what is the next step, what is the new generation, where the players come from, because don't see it in a different way. You have to see it this. Some mixed American players with Mexican history, they decide to play for America. So that's something too. Mexico loses a lot of quality on players too, so they have to figure out what's the next step in their generation.
We just heard the interview post-match from Weston McKennie. He gets the goal to make it 2-0 to kind of finish things off here in Cincinnati tonight. Given all that he has been through, all that happened with him in that first window, how important was this for Weston McKennie in kind of the trajectory, the moment of his career?
Very important for Weston McKennie, even more important for Greg Berhalter. It validates the decision. It validates publicly what they've been through. Weston McKennie's going to play.
I don't want to cut you off. Actually, as soon as McKennie scored, you could see Berhalter point at him like, your moment.
Right, and that's what it is. And that's a moment they will share. That's a bond that they will share. That's a trust. And I think, look, Greg Berhalter's gotten a lot of heat, especially from me.
From you.
Especially from this show. But we have to recognize when he's done things well. The dual national recruitment knocked it out the park. He's been very good with that. This, I mean, not just the second halves in general, that's his bread and butter. He just, in-game adjustments, he's very good at that. He can get things wrong with the lineup, he can get things wrong with the way he goes about things, but he gets it right in the second half majority of times. And today, versus Mexico, we knew that he would play a transition game. When Zach Steffen came out, we knew that he would be trying to bypass that immediate pressure, but we did not expect a second half performance from the U.S. men's national like this.
And to me, that was another key for the match, because one of the biggest differences was Greg Berhalter had a plan, right? Plans can go right or wrong. They can go south, and then you have to adjust and change the plan.
But you got an A and a B, right?
But that was the biggest difference, because he had a plan, and the players executed that plan. I don't want to go back and just dash on Tata Martino. I didn't see a plan for Mexico. I don't know what they were trying to do. I didn't know, and when things were not working, there were no adjustments.
Now he ate his lunch 3 times so far. 3 times in 5 months.
Credit Greg Berhalter for having a plan and players for executing that plan.
But I think like you have to give the credit to Mexico too. In the first half, they had a game plan. In the worst, they played out from the back. They got to space. They overloaded the outside left back and the wingers.
Jermaine, they were struggling to play out of the back though, Mexico.
They struggled, but it's like America made it like really tight for them, but they still had the chance to go out. And we have to say, they had a chance to go 1-up, 1-0, and it was a save from Zach Steffen.
But I see what you're talking about. That left-hand side, Anthony Robinson struggled at first on that left-hand side. They were overloading that side. Tecatito Corona had a few looks. He had a very good look that he just shanked from Chucky Lozano. So I see what you're saying.
How many clear chances did Mexico have in the second half?
No, I don't think they had any.
I don't think they had any, but that was because I think Greg Berhalter adjusted, because he saw that and he said, okay, this is how they're being dangerous. We have to adjust. Tata Martino did not adjust, and that was probably what decided the game in the end.
Jermaine, you're the only one on this desk with any type of like coaching licenses. What were the tactics? Like, what was the change? What happened in that second half?
I think it's in general. Like, I think you go inside and you sit down and talk with the group and say like, okay, guys, we had luck, you know, but the luck is on our side right now. So go out there and then just try to see what is your chances, where's your strengths in the team, you know, and then getting where isolated out there, taking players on. That's the strengths, you know, that's the stuff, and then having somebody like Christian Pulisic, throwing him into 60 minutes, because there were not like so many 100% chances from the U.S. team too. But then they get that 1-on-1 cross. He's on the first post. He's putting it down in the 60 minutes, and then the game changed, because then Mexico has to come. And then,
chase it, right? Yeah. So let me ask you a question. You've watched as a fan Mexico for many years, Hector Herrera for many years. When have you ever seen him so frustrated?
Yeah.
You know, they stifled that midfield. And Tata tried to combat that because he knew it was coming, and he took Andres Guardado, his captain, out of the lineup.
Well, he did it because he didn't think he was athletic enough.
And he puts Romo in there, and he suffers. And then Edson looks like he's struggling. And Hector Herrera looks like he's just frustrated, touching the ball, trying to play out, trying to get anything going and create any type of momentum. It really was a sight to be seen by Greg Berhalter, the way he just nullified that midfield.
And I will add something to that. You guys played this kind of games, and you always saw leaders like Rafa Marquez, Andres Guardado, Cuauhtémoc Blanco. There was always a leader on that pitch. When things were not going well, you could always look back and someone would just yell at, hey, vamos, a cambiar cosas. I did not know who the leader was for the Mexican national team, who the other players could rely on and say, okay, if the manager is not giving us the tools necessary to change the game, let's do it by ourselves. I did not see that either.
Yeah, but we said this before the game. We said, like, the midfield in Mexico, if you give them the time and the space to play, Hector would destroy you and he would get into the game. But then you can see with Musa in Weston and Adams, they were like, especially in the second half, they were stepping on their toes, they would be there, they'd be in their face, and that made them get away from their game, what they needed to keep the ball and everything. And this is like was something. At the end, you see that somebody like Weston McKennie, who got criticized a lot, comes out with the second goal.
So McKinney and Adams, I think, are locks in the midfield. Yunus Musa has kind of been the third man in. Is that trio the best three, Jermaine, in midfield for the United States moving forward? Is Musa now kind of on that level with McKinney and Adams, a locked-in starter?
Yeah, I think that's just the trio they have to play. And I'm a fan of Musa because if you see today how he was holding up the ball and really like creating like chances and helped them. Because Adams is like, first half, Adams had a lot of second balls where he dropped it and made mistakes where Mexico actually tried to come over and get their chances. But then in second half, like I think they all picked it up, you know, and they cleaned it up. And I think that was maybe something too what Greg Berhalter told them, clean it up, be more safe and then play easy in the midfield, and we would get our chances, and that's what it is.
Yunus Musa, right, he was just so clean on the ball, and not just holding it, Jermaine, the way he would glide and just kind of penetrate in the midfield and advance the ball. It was very contagious. It got others involved. It got others feeling comfortable in the game, especially in the second half.
And the counter, Mao, is that we saw kind of none of that drive, none of that push from the Mexican midfield threes.
No, we did not. And I think one of the biggest reasons was Luis Romo. And listen, I've been a fan of Luis Romo for a long time. Right. I think he was the MVP for Cruz Azul when they won the Mexican League. But he has not had a great season. And that showed tonight because when Mexico needed a player to go box to box to create opportunities, sometimes he even looked lost on the field. And actually that yellow card, I thought Tata Martino was going to remove him from the field and bring on Andres Guardado. He did not. Luis Romo did not have a good game, and there was just no cohesion in midfield. It showed, and the U.S. men's national team took advantage of that.
Speaking of Tata Martino, both managers' press conferences going on as we speak. Let's listen in to Greg Berhalter.
You have now coached the U.S. a couple of victories here in Mexico. You've also yourself played in a USA-Mexico game. Can you comment about how the rivalry has changed over the course of first your player career and now your coaching career?
Oh man, that's a difficult question. I think fundamentally it hasn't changed much, right? It's two teams that understand what the rivalry means, understand that you know how important this rivalry is for the region. You see when the teams are on the field in the Nations League final or Gold Cup final, both teams want to win and they want to compete. So, you know, from that standpoint, it hasn't changed. But when I think about our age and our you know, the youth we have in this generation coming up and having to compete against, you know, Mexico, that's an experienced team. And, you know, these guys they just keep going and they're relentless. And, you know, it was great to get the win.
So we will be bringing Tim Wyatt in as well. Just for your information, Christian Person was selected for goalkeeping control.
There's the post-match press conference from Greg Berhalter talking
You're
about the
always
rivalry
late.
between the United
This guy's
States
always late.
and Mexico. As Taylor Twellman
Just so you guys
in.
know, I can't hear you, so it's kind of nice.
Okay, I'll just scream across the table. Don't worry about it. Glad you could join us. I know you've been doing hits on SportsCenter and everywhere else across ESPN. Just your thoughts on the match. I mean, it really seemed to be a tale of two halves.
It was. It's kind of been that way in World Cup qualifying for the United States, which is odd. I'm a little surprised that the trend continues through 7 games. For me, I look at Mexico. If they score a goal in the first half, they're different in the second half, right? They came out in the second half and looked defeated. They were flat. That was alarming. But you also got to tip your cap to Greg Berhalter and say, what are you doing at halftime that every single time the young players come out and they're like, you know what, we're ready to go. They punched him in the mouth, and then you pull off a guy on the bench like Pulisic, you're going to get a special moment. They were good in the second half.
Yeah, I feel like coming into this match, there were a lot of questions about Greg Berhalter. Not maybe whether he would keep the job through the rest of qualifying, but whether he was the guy to take this team to the next level, however you want to define that. Are those questions put to bed now? I mean, this is 3 straight wins over Mexico. They're top of the octagonal halfway through the qualifying cycle. You can't really, Taylor, ask for much
but
more.
we all know that social media is still going to talk about the nepotism, right? And that conversation is always going to follow Berhalter no matter where it goes.
But that's not down to him. I mean,
right. And what's impressive is Greg hasn't let it bother him, right? Like, he's stayed in his even keel mindset and control what he can control. I'm with you, Seb. It's 3 times in a calendar year. And so if you're going to question anything, it's hard. Listen, he's used 33 different players in World Cup qualifying. That's the most since 2004, if I'm not mistaken. 30 different starters. That's depth, or it's him trying to figure out who his best 11 is.
And that's all fair. It's also a bit of an enigma because he's very good at in-game adjustments. Second halves are his bread and butter, and we've mentioned this. It's not the first time. But then he also gets it wrong in El Salvador, also gets it wrong in Panama.
Start with the starting lineup.
Yes, there are reasons why we question him, and they're all valid, and they're part of a process, they're part of a cycle, and we understand that. Now it's up to him, because we talk about the inexperience with this team. He's a very inexperienced national team coach as well. He's very green in that sense. So when he figures that out, when he realizes what's a starting 11, when he realizes what's the best tactics, home and away, what he can do, what he can't do, when he puts it together, then those questions we put to bed.
So actually, let's take a look then at the U.S. lineup from tonight, because I think it's safe to say he got it right tonight, and he had some really big decisions. Maybe it's not a huge decision to keep Christian Pulisic on the bench, given all the concerns over his health, but the decision in goal to go with Zach Steffen over Matt Turner. It didn't surprise us because we knew a day ahead of time, but really, I mean, this for me came out of left field.
It did come out of left field, but Steffen got that early touch in the game coming out for a cross. That gets him involved. The first save is one that builds a confidence. The second save is a really good save. The one he got right is Yedlin over Scally.
Wow, okay.
And I'm in the camp of saying, listen, if Scally's playing Bayern Munich, let's go. Let's rock and roll. I don't think, Jermaine, you know this better than anyone, you can't give someone his first cap against Mexico
at
home.
Like, let me ask, why not? If a kid can play against Bayern,
Greg has done it. He's getting these kids big caps.
But
I mean,
playing for your country is different, right?
And this game's different.
Yes, and I think Greg should have brought him in October.
Right.
And got his feet wet.
Right.
Because you knew this was coming down the road. But Yedlin's first 2 fouls, he was on edge. But they got it right with Yedlin. Most World Cup qualifying appearances of anyone on the roster, he was solid. He didn't get caught with the yellow. That's the one that surprised me the most, more than Steffen and the Turner, because I wasn't totally sold, because you know Yedlin better than anyone. He's not a great 1v1 defender. He doesn't love defending. Tonight he was all right.
Yeah. But that's what it is. Yedlin was just there to defend and do just at least not that much to going forward.
Yep.
That was his job, and he did it good, you know. And you touched it on. You say, like, yeah, but there's other players he threw out there already, and they maybe had the first cap. But it's always different to put a young player out there with no experience in a rival and playing a defense position, because something goes off. As me, as a other coach, I would be like, oh, go against him. He's young.
But,
I don't care.
But think about this: his biggest must-win game, he trots Ricardo Pepi out there. First time in San Pedro Sula, and the kid, he's involved in all 4 goals. He's got this, I don't care, I'm going to take the chance on my players type of mentality.
But it wasn't Pepe's first camp.
And often, well, that's fine, but it often pays off for him.
But then it's like this, sorry. But then it's like this too. It's like it's a difference if you put a striker out there and say, hey, go out there, score a goal. Instead you put a defense player out there and you don't know who he faces. It's way closer to the goal for your own goal. And it's like
I just find it hard to believe that you're good enough to play against Bayern Munich, but you're not so good enough to play against Tata Martino's Mexico team. Like to me, you know,
I don't think it's a good enough thing, Herc. It's
just like if there's going to be a phase that you're not ready for, that you're going to be you're going to be phased by the moment.
I'm willing to bet we're talking about Joe Scally for a long time coming up.
Which is why I wish he would have came in. Bothers him exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
I wish he would have came in September of October, got him involved, but Yedlin got it right.
He did.
Got it right.
He did. We
Yedlin.
have to give Yedlin a lot of credit because, as you said, he's sitting on that early card. He's sitting on those nervy moments, and he did exactly what you said he was going to. He wasn't going to go forward. He was going to play combat, Chucky Lozano speed, or Tecatito Corona if he comes on that side, or Raul Jimenez if he's ever creeping there. And he did exactly that. We criticized Greg Berhalter a lot, but he got it right today.
He did.
Yeah.
Can we talk about the venue here? I mean, so much was made of this game leaving Columbus, coming to Cincinnati, a few more seats, which means, you know, more spaces available for Mexican fans to come in. Even when the game was even, I didn't really hear much from the Mexican fans. This was a U.S. venue through and through. I really didn't want to see this game leave Columbus, but you can't criticize Cincy.
First off, are we serious with this stadium?
Yeah,
this is
special.
Absurd.
It's like Red Bull Arena if they filled it.
On drugs.
Whoa,
on drugs, on steroids.
Whoa.
Is that a shot?
It's a better version of Red Bull Arena.
Roots, yeah.
You know? It's a better version of Red Bull Arena. The 2018 World Cup qualifier against Costa Rica at Red Bull Arena. I remember looking at Ian Dark, and I looked at him and I said, when the United States came out, there was more whistles for warm-ups than I had ever heard for a home game. And I was like, uh-oh. So we kind of looked at it and said, let's watch that. I didn't hear that from Mexico as much tonight, but this venue, you gotta be kidding me.
The venue, the
everything
weather,
about it.
both the rain and the cold, like we talk about that stuff and it's like, oh, well, these guys are professionals. The Mexican players, they play in Europe. But the Mexican team didn't look engaged in that second half. I have to think that the crowd, the elements, that had to have played a role.
Of course it played a role. And I think, like, you know what the key is on this whole thing is, like, that if you look, not only the team, how young it is, the fans, the people around the sport, soccer in general in this country, they're believing there's something coming and there's something building and getting better. You see stadiums. Look at this venue, what happened today here. We all played in Columbus. We know the old stadium, not the new one. It was just tough to play there. This is why we brought them there. But now, look at this. That's a different.
This is insane.
There's a different stage.
And the one thing for the viewers at home, every seat is facing the field. You know, a lot of the new stadiums are beautiful. Make no mistake about it. But everything in here is about what's going on in the field, and that is understated. It's not being talked about enough. And there's not a bad seat in this house. The sound ricochets. The entire thing's under the roof.
It's a beautiful venue, and if we're gonna for a second go back to the climate and the conditions, we could say like, hey, they got European players as well. But if you look at that starting lineup, goalkeeper Liga MX, both fullbacks Liga MX, central midfielder Liga MX, the subs Liga MX. These are players that are not used to playing in these type of conditions, and you can say what you want, they're professionals. But it's a big moment, and when it's a big moment, you start getting a little nervous, and you start getting a little cold.
But
and
the
when
first
it's colder,
first half, they were good.
They were very
good, right? So the weather really didn't impact them the first half.
They were the Mexico that we're accustomed to seeing.
If they were cold tonight, Mexico, their next trip, Edmonton. It's going to be, you know, feels like
Have you ever been to Edmonton, Seth?
Edmonton? Yeah. No, but I've heard it's cold.
It's cold, buddy. It's cold. It's cold.
Somebody wasn't cold tonight. Christian Pulisic coming off the bench, 6 minutes in, he gets the game-winning goal. I mean, you expect him to have an impact, Taylor, but it's the moment, right? It's finding that space between the center backs when his team needed him the most in the biggest game.
What a service.
Christian Pulisic delivered, just like he did in the Nations League final.
Yep, but it's also recognizing that Pepe and McKinney are flat-footed. They're not being proactive with their movement. He just slides 5 yards in front of his defender. Ball ends up in the back of the net. I'm thinking of Greg Berhalter in this moment. And you know why? Because millions of times as a manager, you come up with a plan and it never comes to fruition. This thing literally came perfect. I'm going to bring him on the 66th minute and he's going to score a goal and we're going to win. It doesn't happen. And so you could see the energy from Berhalter and his staff of looking at each other kind of fist bumping going, it worked.
Jermaine, we were watching the game. Did you feel like there was a reaction from the other American players when Pulisic come on? Because he's such a critical symbol to this team. I almost felt like it lifted everybody's level.
Yeah, of course. He's the star in that team. And you can see it when he was going get ready for the warm-up. You're already like 60 minutes. He's like, because everybody who sits on the bench knows as a player you want to be on the field. It doesn't matter if you come from an injury or not. You were seeing that he was just trying to get eye contact with the coach. Like, come on, it's my time. I want to come. I want to come. Then he brings him in, and hey, big players change big games, you know?
Can we talk about the confidence? Can we talk about Christian Pulisic's confidence? Because you could say he stepped up big in the Nations League final, in that CONCACAF Nations League final. That's a penalty kick. Besides that, he was struggling at times. This match, 6 minutes in, scores the goal, and then he unveils the shirt. I mean, he's expecting to score. He's expecting that big moment. He's expecting that responsibility, and he shows up for his team against the biggest rival.
So let's get into that, right? Because there was some trash talk back and forth in the week. Memo Ochoa basically saying that Mexico is the mirror in which the U.S. wants to see itself. You know, we are what they want to be. Greg Berhalter obviously had a comment about that. Christian Pulisic went out and had a shirt made that said "Man in the Mirror,"
That's what I'm talking about.
He wore it thinking he might score. And I mean, this guy is, you know, forget the play. Like, he's the face of this team. He's embracing.
He's the face of this sport in this country.
He's embracing. I didn't think this was Christian Pulisic. I thought he was a quiet, shy kid. He's clearly not.
He
that.
still could be, Seb. The only thing.
A quiet, shy kid doesn't.
No, I was gonna say. Quiet, shy, you can still be quiet and shy except when you cross the line, you change that, whatever. I will say this is his group of players.
Yeah.
So he's not with the older generation. He's not with the Jermaine Jones and Hercules Gomez, that generation. This is his group. Weston's his boy, Tyler Adams his boy. These are the guys that he feels comfortable with, and I think he's taken that leadership role because he actually knows this is kind of my group.
And don't forget, when he got into this team, when he came already, when he was like one of the younger ones, he stepped up already there.
Oh, yeah, he did.
He was just
in Orlando,
young. And I tell you this, U.S. Soccer made pretty clear, number 10 is his kid.
Yeah.
He will get the jersey and everything. So he knows it, and he was humble. He worked hard to be in this position where now he knows, I'm here the boss. You are my friends, but I'm the star and I'm the leader, and I prove it. I'm not just saying that.
By the way, is Ochoa wrong with saying what he said? Like, I don't even think
he's wrong in giving him bulletin board material.
Yeah.
You know, the same that Weston and Tyler were wrong in saying we won a 9-point week when that happened. It just, to the rival, you give them fuel, unnecessary fuel. And he's not wrong about the truth.
But all four of us are sitting here saying Ochoa's right if they win tonight.
But you don't say it, right? Exactly. But you still don't say it.
It's the same thing that...
I actually kind of give credit to Greg Berhalter. I feel like he manufactured the bulletin board material a little bit.
See, that's where I absolutely...
And I don't have a problem with that. I applaud it.
Everyone's got to find a chip on the shoulder. You got to find something to get people going. Yeah. I think Greg made a mountain out of a molehill, to be honest with you. And I have zero problem with it. This is what Bill Belichick has done for the Patriots for how many years when there's nothing there, and he's like, no, everyone hates us. We all watched the Michael Jordan documentary.
Yeah.
He hated everybody. No one really hated him. And yet this is what you do. You have to manufacture stuff at times. I saw the Ochoa quote. Quite honestly, I don't know if I would have taken that much out of it. Timings, you guys are right on the timing. But it wasn't as if he went all in and said something. I just kind of like the banter. I like Christian Pulisic saying, no, I'm the man in the mirror. Like, I like it. Yeah. It's what the rivalry is. And I played a little bit with Herc. I know Jermaine. I like personality. We don't have enough.
That's
like,
true.
give me something. Give me something that I can hold on to. Like, everyone's kind of robotic. I kind of liked it tonight because it was different. It was refreshing.
On Greg Berhalter, we're halfway through now. He's got the team atop the group. Your complaint has been the results are there, but the style of play isn't. Did you see style of play tonight?
You get points a little differently than you would have expected. You drop points at home versus Canada. You pick them up in Honduras. You know, you lose them in Panama. It's just what we've been sold on, that progressive, you know, in the final third wing play, just very.
Did we see that in the last 20 minutes tonight?
You saw it differently. You saw a team that I don't want to say regress back to its roots, being difficult to play against, set pieces, you know, speed, but you play to your strengths. You've got a young squad that's very good on the ball, that's very good in transition, that plays a modern football, by the way, a modern football. And they took it to a team that's possession-based, that normally likes to have the ball. They took the ball away from them. They really made Mexico play their game.
Herc, the only question I would have, and this is for both of you actually, is that I don't know if I've seen a collection of players in the United States pool at the same time have a diversity in wide areas where players are dynamic in 1v1 spots. They can dribble, they can get out of spots. Moose is a special. Like, I don't know if this country has ever had that.
I don't think so.
Right?
No.
And that's the only thing where Berhalter and everyone talks about the progressive way to play. If they can find a way to be clinical against the highest level of competition, because you're not going to get 20 opportunities, you're going to get 6 and 7. They've got some players, like Timothy Weah has got a high ceiling, that I'm not sure anyone has. We know who Pulisic is. Giovanni Reina's a special one. You've got Brendan Aarons. See what I'm saying? Like, you're going through six or seven
wide players in
players.
the past are different because Landon's played there, because Clint's played there, and they come in centrally. They come in to join.
Agreed.
They're
This
not
is
so
a little
much take
different.
you on with speed, be
But
vertical.
who's the 9?
And that's the question, isn't it? I mean, Ricardo Pepi gets a start tonight, but it was quiet.
Yeah, he was quiet, but I think we're talking about a kid who is 18 years old.
Yes.
So he give him time, like let him come a little bit, you know, and he will be good. I think that's his position. But I think in general, I think that you just see two faces to the whole period now. And if you looked at the numbers, okay, they are number 1 in the table. But what I want to like to see is like that you can see there's a style of play, there's an idea in their control. Because I want them dictate games because they have the quality and players.
You don't feel they dictated tonight?
They dictate, but it's always the second half. And if it goes wrong, they can get punished. And we sit here and talking about like, okay, Zach has not the save. 1-0 is a completely different game.
That shot, the chance. Yeah.
So,
I agree with what you're saying. And really quickly, going back to that 9 position, I don't think it's really Ricardo Pepi's. I think it's still very much wide open. Ricardo,
Hot hand.
I mean, hot hand, but not so hot hand. It's 7 games now without a goal.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I mean, I'm saying Berhalter's going with the hot hand. Whoever heats up has got
but think
that
about
job.
it. You've got Josh Sargent, for my money, still the most complete forward in the pool, in the Premier League. Struggling, but maybe he gets hot. Jordan Pifak, maybe he gets hot. Daryl Dike, he's been hot. Maybe he gets a run. I just think it's a wide open, you know,
Is that
game
maybe
for
the
these
criticism on Berhalter? I don't want to say tonight, but in the group that he calls in, because Pepi's had a quiet evening. And then you look on the bench, and there's not another true number 9. He ends up bringing on Jesus Ferreira, but he's more of a false 9, 10-ish kind of player. There wasn't that other option. There wasn't DK, Sargent,
I was a little
Pifak.
surprised, especially because Mexico's number 1 problem is center back, right?
Yeah.
So I probably would have brought DK in the group, just knowing a physical presence, can occupy the 2 center backs. That's going to cause a problem naturally just by being on the field.
And still gives you that dynamic presence as well as that he's looking for.
Absolutely. You know what's amazing? 5 FC Dallas Academy players played a part in the game tonight. And it almost
here
was
you
6
go
with
promoting
Reggie
FC
Cannon.
Dallas again.
It's unbelievable, though. Like, honestly, you think about it. Jesus Ferreira played meaningful minutes. He should have scored.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
God bless him for keeping the Dos
And
Cero,
he's
though.
one that Berhalter surprised me calling him in, but more so told me he thinks he may be ultimately the 9 when everyone comes together.
Really?
Yes.
Why? What in his game?
Because his interpretation of space, using his words.
I'm sorry, this sounds like some Pep Manchester
It does.
City stuff.
Absolutely it does. But he says the interpretation of space allows the players outside, if it's Pulisic, Reina, Weah, he understands when to come in, when to come out, mobility, all of that. I looked at him right in the face and said, okay, can he score you 12 goals? Can he score you 15 goals? Because we haven't seen that for FC Dallas yet. Because I still want my 9 to be a goal threat. You could, I'm gonna blow a gasket on false number 9s right now, but you still want your 9 to score goals, right? Like, you want to score goals, and I'm with Jermaine. Pepe's 18, absolutely, but do you really want to rely on him in these big moments?
And leave yourself no other choice.
Listen, he was just quiet. But if you look at what he did, like Timothy Weah in the first half when he did break loose, it was a nice little flick from Ricardo Pepi. It was him playing back to goal. He was doing little subtle things that he did versus Costa Rica as well and Jamaica.
And then you have to say this: the number 9 most of the time is a box player.
Absolutely.
It's a box player that come, they drop into deep space, get the ball, drop it back, and then go back into space to score goals. Most of the collective is you rely, as a number 9, you rely on their wingers. And if the wingers not get into a game, the 9 doesn't look, a lot of times, not good. If they come, you saw it. He don't need a lot of chances with his 18 years old. If you cross them, he's there and he puts them down. You know, but today, yes. But the first half,
He's just over anxious today, right? You're a 9.
I'm over anxious now, and I'm 41. I got a flight in 4.5 hours. I'm over anxious right now. What are you talking about?
I do got to let you go so that you can catch that flight. But before we do, there's one more topic. He's not here. Serginho Dest injured, but we've heard the reports out of Barcelona. Dani Alves is going to join the team in January in some type of capacity. He obviously plays the same position as Serginho Dest. He is the right back that Barcelona have been looking to replace and have tried to do so with Serginho Dest. My initial instinct is this is bad news for Des. You see it that way,
I'm
Taylor?
indifferent. I'm indifferent on it just because Dani Alves is 38 years old. Xavi needs someone within that locker room that understands what kind of, I mean, you saw the 10 commandments that Xavi gave the entire locker room and the group of players. I'm not going to go all in yet and say it's bad for Sergiño Dest. I'm not. I just think this is more of Xavi needed someone he trusts that knows he can set the standard by which he wants everyone to operate. But ask me in 2 months. I don't know. Maybe the transfer window does mean Dest leaves, but I don't see it yet.
Jermaine?
Yeah, no, I don't think I think you're right. He brings him in that he has like kind of a coach inside of the team. Because he's like experienced.
But he's going to play. He's going to take Des minutes in some capacity.
He will play, but you can make a bet. They had a conversation before he signs him and says, look, you will not play maybe the top games. You will not. We have a young group. We want to build something. But we know each other. We won so much together. Let's build something here together and see where this game goes.
And what if the conversation, to Jermaine's point, was we actually like Des. We think he's got something. We'd like for you to maybe mentor him.
And there it is, exactly where I'm going. I don't see this as a negative. I see this as a positive. You've played Champions League, you've played in Europe, you're playing Wednesday, Saturday, Wednesday, Sunday, Tuesday, whatever the case may be, twice a week. 38 years old, you're not going to play
Barcelona may not
game.
be in the Champions League for that long.
Sergiño, well, fair enough, but Sergiño Dest may finally have somebody who he himself has called his hero to show him the ropes to actually play that position the right way.
And Xavi gets what he wants. He gets a little bit of a lieutenant in the locker room.
Yes.
And you bring somebody back. Listen, the fans, everybody. Now you bring somebody back who's a legend there. People love him, so everybody's like,
I thought Barcelona had no money, though, so what's Dani Alves making?
Taylor, Jermaine, great to have you with us here on Football Omegas. Thanks so much. I know you're freezing, so we'll let you get out of here.
Jermaine can't feel anything below his knees right now.
Now you know what your opponents feel like after you hit them.
We do have some Major League Soccer coming up on, November 21st. Feels like forever away, but some big games in the playoff. A doubleheader that starts with a match on ABC between New York City FC and Atlanta United. That one in the Eastern Conference, and then another game after that as well. Atlanta United, of course, the former team of one Tata Martino. The Mexican national team manager spoke after the match. Let's hear what he had to say.
Tata, what is your reaction to losing to the United States for the third time?
Profe, su reacción a perder a Estados Unidos por tercera vez.
Bueno, como dije en la previa al partido, no es una cuestión de perder 3 partidos con Estados Unidos. La situación es poder seguir recuperándonos en la eliminatoria. Nosotros estamos jugando una eliminatoria, no es un enfrentamiento personal contra Estados Unidos. Entiendo sí la importancia que tiene por ser un clásico, tener 3 derrotas contra un rival al cual todos los mexicanos siempre quieren ganarle, pero lo que más nos tiene que preocupar es volver a reencauzar la eliminatoria.
As I said previously, the important thing isn't whether or not we lost for a third time. It's about the qualifiers. That's what's important here. So obviously it's a rivalry match, and in any rivalry match you want to win. It's a game that all Mexico fans want to see us win, but the important part is to continue to do well in qualifiers.
Tata, buenas tardes. Felipe Cárdenas con The Athletic. Durante la gira europea, uno de los objetivos era que México manejara los partidos que se les complicaba. Esta noche fue lo contrario, no supieron manejar el segundo tiempo. ¿Cuál fue la diferencia y cuál es su análisis del partido?
Yo creo que el partido tuvo momentos cambiantes. Nosotros fuimos los primeros que tuvimos para golpear durante el primer tiempo, con 2 situaciones muy claras. En ese primer tiempo Estados Unidos no llegó al arco nuestro con posibilidades claras de gol. Es cierto que por ahí la tenencia del partido fue compartida, como creo que en líneas generales fue la tenencia compartida. Y lo que siento es que en el segundo tiempo nosotros bajamos un poco, sobre todo la intensidad. Es decir, cuando nosotros igualamos la intensidad de Estados Unidos, en ese primer tiempo tuvimos nuestras mejores opciones y creo que fuimos mejores. En el segundo tiempo, cuando empezamos a bajar la intensidad, que ya se vislumbraba en el final del primer tiempo, ellos controlaron y al ser eficaces y en la segunda llegada convertir el gol, ya el partido lo empezaron a manejar con mucha más tranquilidad.
Those are the words of Tata Martino as Mauricio Pedrosa joins us again here on Football Americas. I know he doesn't have the benefit of all the makeup that we're wearing, but that looks like a frustrated and worn down manager for the Mexican national team. I think that's the
You're
lowest.
wearing makeup?
Easy, not as much as you. All right, let's get to a quick version of 3 questions, and we'll start with Tata Martino. Is his job now in jeopardy, Mal?
Has to be. Has to be, and I'm very disappointed with that press conference, because if he truly believes that rivalries don't really matter, then he doesn't get it. Because rivalries do matter, especially this rivalry, Mexico-Estados Unidos, Mexico-Estados Unidos. And it's not just the end result is that he was out-coached, the team was outplayed. So his job has to be in question. I'm not saying fire him right now, but at least you gotta go back and check if this team playing better with him, and is there anybody out there that can make this group of players perform better than what they did tonight.
That's it? You're going to fire the coach because he didn't come in first place in
Well, I actually don't believe he's going to be fired because he's on $2.2 million a year, and I don't think the Mexican
what I'm
Federation's
getting
gonna do
at,
that.
since 1998, they've only won one cycle, and that was 2018 with Juan Carlos Osorio. You know, it's can he get you to the next level at the World Cup?
Where's the evidence of it?
Well, hold on.
Let me just say this.
I'm not against you, but what I'm saying is he's not going to be fired. He's not going to be let go because you've mentioned the money. You mentioned what's going on in this pandemic transfer fee era. There is no money for that. And by the way, he's also, if he wins in Canada and if he keeps winning, this team is going to the World Cup.
That's a big if, by the way.
They're walking. Well,
that's a big if.
I mean, they got outplayed by Canada in Azteca. What do you think is going to happen in Edmonton?
I'm not saying that it won't be different. I'm not saying it can't be different. Okay, because this team has shown us when they play well what they're capable of.
I feel like when Tata Martino took over, there was an upward curve for a minute, and maybe it's something as simple as the pandemic stopped momentum, but this team's momentum is clearly headed south now.
Yes, and again, I will ask the question, how do we evaluate if he's doing the job the right way? Is the team performing better? Are we seeing new players adapting to the national team? The answer is no. Again, I'm not saying he has to be fired, but at least it's the job of the Federation, Federación Mexicana de Fútbol, to look around and just ask the question, is there anybody out there that can right now change the dynamic of the team?
Can you think, is there, I mean...
there's no clear answer for that. There's no clear answer.
Mourinho, that's not gonna change the way the Mexican team plays or how young they can't get. Am I the only one who thinks they've gotten old, very quickly? Andres Guardado can't be trusted. Your captain can't be trusted to play a game. Hector Moreno, your most experienced center back,
Hector Moreno's not fit today. That's why he's not
there. But why isn't he fit? Because he's long on the tooth and he's got these injury issues, okay? Memo Ochoa, the backup goalkeeper, the third goalkeeper, they're all in the mid-30s or higher. Like, this team has gotten old.
All right, let's talk about the front line, because Raúl Jiménez didn't have a great game, Chucky Lozano didn't have a great game, but Tecatito, he had a terrible game. That tridente has been the dream tridente for as long as I can remember for the Mexican national team. Did Tecatito lose his starting job tonight, Mal?
I think he did. And when you go back and start looking at Tecatito Corona's performances with the Mexican national team, I will ask you guys, do you remember any game?
I don't remember games, I remember moments.
When he was the decisive factor, was he at some point the best player in the Mexican national team? He's gotten many chances to be that guy. And for many reasons, either he was not available for family reasons, he was injured, there was confrontation between Porto and the Mexican national team. I think it's time to give that spot to someone else and see if Piojo Alvarado, Orbelín Pineda, I don't know why Diego Lainez is not here tonight, but at some point there has to be another player other than Tecatito Corona who can play that right wing position.
You agree?
Your question was, did he lose that starting job tonight? No. He lost it months ago. That's
so why does he still have it?
That's how bad his play has been.
Bad his play has been. He's hardly playing. That's the thing.
Well, this is the thing.
At club level, he doesn't have that.
Since he announced that he wanted to leave, since they made it public, Sergio Conceição and Porto have punished him. He's not played, and it's affected his confidence. You see him.
But if you're Tata Martino, you have to know he's not playing, and you have to see he's already been playing poorly for you.
What you have to do is you have to remove him from the situation. You have to say, hey, you know what? It happens to every single player. Every single player I've coached, this has happened to. Take a seat back. Let somebody else come in, refresh your memory, gain that hunger again, and then we'll see what happens. But he's not done that. And Tecatito Corona, it's been one after the other where he struggled.
Herc, you said he's lost confidence, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't look like a confident player on the field. We all knew that already. We didn't need this game to find that out.
Sometimes a coach will want to give you that trust, and he'll force that trust.
Think, hey, a big game will bring it out of you, or what?
Right, he's bound to explode. I mean, that's something I said pregame.
Yeah, he's due.
Like, yeah, if he explodes, he's not the guy you want exploding because he can really hurt you.
All right, let's get to the third question there about Mexico's defense. What's the bigger problem, the central defenders or the outside backs? What's it for you?
Outside backs, I think they're going to figure out the center backs. I like Johan Vazquez. I know Herc didn't like Johan Vazquez. He's not the problem, and he's only going to get better. Cata is not a national team player, and it showed tonight. But Cesar Montes will be back. Nestor Araujo will be back. They're going to get that fixed. The other positions, they're big question marks because they cannot defend. Chaka it's a good option. He has a great right foot. Same with Jesus Gallardo. But when it's time to defend, they just cannot do it.
Yeah, I mean, he's absolutely right. If you're thinking about the players who can potentially come in, the center back position is filled. And if I'm Julian Araujo, I'm licking my lips right now. I'm licking my chops thinking about that right back position.
So there you just saw it, the CONCACAF World Cup qualifying table at the halfway point of the qualifying cycle. What a different story from 4 years ago for the United States. Pretty similar for Mexico as they are 1 and 2 atop the table. Level on 14 points, but the United States with that better goal differential and the head-to-head tiebreaker for now. For Mauricio Pedrosa, Hercules Gomez, I'm Sebastian Salazar.
Okay?
Thanks for watching this I'm going to go cry for a little bit. Thank you for watching this very special edition of Football Americas from Cincinnati TQL Stadium, where yes, the final score was once again, Herc, say it for me.
2-0. Oh, there was some clapping.